This is a special presentation from UFC Fight Pass. Step into our world at UFCFightPass.com.
Oh, it has finally arrived. It is the biggest day in mixed martial arts all year, and Extra Rounds is brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. We are inside the belly of the beast, T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, and you know what today is? Yes, it is in fact UFC 300, and this is Extra Rounds. Hey everybody, TJ DeSantis along with a army of the best dudes in the business. I promise you that. I'm going to get him on camera too, just like that. Hi, TJ DeSantis, Jason Anik, Belal Muhammad, John Morgan, and the Hall of Famer himself, Don the Predator Frye. Gentlemen, we are here. We've arrived. It's like the proverbial Christmas day in mixed martial arts.
TJ, I'm going to take issue with you right off the top, man. I hate to start it this way, but you said the biggest day of the year. Baby, we're talking about UFC 300. This might be the biggest day ever.
I mean, I'm partial to my birthday, personally. I'm a little selfish, but everybody's birthday is today in UFC 300. And if you are a fight fan, man, honestly, guys, like it sounds like it's hyperbolic to say it's the most stacked UFC card ever, but how many champions are on this card? How many, Hall of Famers are just in the making here? This is going to be a night where it's big tonight, guys, but when you look at this card 2-3 years from now, it's going to mature better than it even is today, and that's kind of amazing.
Yeah. I just can't wait to see the people coming in. We're a couple hours still from the first fight. I love that you went to the end of John Morgan. That guy's always asking the first question.
That's true.
I'm ready to jump out of my seat. We got the #1 welterweight contender, Belal Muhammad, here. So much to talk about. Like you said, 12 champions, including Gaethje? I'm spitting all over the desk. I'm jumping out of my skin.
I mean, I hate to say it, but I'm as excited for the early prelims as I am for almost any main card, if not main event.
3 p.m. Hold on. 3 p.m.
Right.
Pacific time. Deiveson Figueiredo and Cody Garbrandt are going to walk into that cage right there behind us. I mean, that's a hell of a fight. That could main event any fight night. That could be a co-main event of a pay-per-view right now, depending on different circumstances. If they were to get to a title, that's a pay-per-view headline type fight at 3 p.m. Fight #1.
Absolutely, and it only gets better from there. Believe it or not, it really does only get better from there. And with $300,000 bonuses on the line, are you kidding me? Like, if you're not motivated as a fighter tonight, that just quit, retire, because you shouldn't be doing this.
I already spent my bonus.
Well, you had to be trying to get on the card, right? Did you, after they announced that at the press conference, did you say, is there still room for
Bro, I'm like, let me see if I can make weight. I'll make 205. I'll fight at middleweight. I'll fight anytime they want me to fight. I was like, bro, how am I not on this card right now? It was like heartbreaking. Man. But you even see the fighters, right? At the weigh-ins, everybody's wearing jewelry like they're spending that money already. I was like, bro, you got to win the bonus first.
No, absolutely. And, it's been electric all week here in Las Vegas, being in the building today. Like, it just feels like everything is falling into place, like it's destiny. And that's a word I don't use lightly. I remember I was at the final WEC in Glendale, Arizona, and that night felt similar to tonight, and that ended with a Showtime kick. I don't know if we're going to see that here tonight, but that was a night of phenomenal mixed martial arts action that people still talk about today. And I think tonight we're going to be talking about a card that largely will be talked about for years, if not decades, to come. Where do you guys want to start? I mean, John Morgan, you asked the first question. What do you want us to do?
I mean, you could start at the top, I guess, but, we could talk about the early prelims, I think, right? Because, like you said, Deiveson Figueiredo, Cody Garbrandt right off the top, that's amazing. Jalen Turner, Renato Moicano's on there. I mean, this whole card, it's sick. Start with the early prelims, right? We're on Fight Pass, right?
Absolutely.
We're trying to fire up
Absolutely.
Fight Pass.
Yeah, there you
we
go.
start there.
It's like you
think
think back to UFC 200 and where this sport is relative to where it was. And my brother John always says there's 15 Super Bowls a year, the Super Bowl, and then the 14 UFC pay-per-views. But this one does feel different.
Yep.
So the first fight of the night, Deiveson Figueiredo, Cody Garbrandt. John, how many people, seats in the building when they make that walk?
All right, listen, man. I got to take issue with Las Vegas crowds, all right? Las Vegas always shows up a little bit late, right? I know there's a lot of things going on. It's the Strip, you got dinner, there's clubs, there's all things going on. But they got to show up for that, right? This is special. This card, there has never been a card this stacked, and that is the honest truth. I know, hey, obviously the UFC, it's their job to promote their events. They want to get people excited. But that's not hyperbole to me. This is the most stacked card we've ever seen. I got to think people, especially the real fans, they're showing up early for this. You have to be.
I mean, it's the hardest ticket to get. I'm not talking about just like actually trying to get it, but like it's expensive. Have you seen the second market prices of these things? Like,
no, but my ticket's in the broom closet. I don't even get to watch it. Somebody's like call me and tell me what happened.
Well, I mean, let's be honest, Don. If you walk down Octagon side right now, there might be a security guard that's going to go, "Hey, you can't," whatever you want, sir. You're Don Frye. They're just going to move out the way. So you got free reign.
Well, it depends on how old they are. You gotta be have a little bit of gray hair in order to remember who I am.
Just wear your Hall of Fame jacket. You'll be good. They'll just like watch you right past.
I hawked that. I had to hawk that in Vegas. I got a little behind. But I didn't look good on somebody else, I'm sure.
So let's talk about the money man, Renato Moicano. He's fighting early tonight. We got to hang out with him in Miami. This guy is in a renaissance of his career. Not just what he's doing inside the octagon, but the way that he's conducting himself. Like, he's almost like a media star at this point, John.
I love it. I got a chance to call fights with him. It was absolutely incredible. I mean, it was the most amazing experience. It's been cool to see. It's kind of, like you said, a renaissance, right? I mean, he's a guy a tough fighter. I mean, I think a lot of people had respect for him, but I don't think people saw that star quality about him, right? And then he decided, like, I understand this sport is about wins and losses, but the sport is about getting people to care about you, right? And so he starts dropping F-bombs and starts, learning English, which is a challenge. And I'm not saying that everybody has to learn English, but it doesn't hurt, to help out the connectivity with the crowd.
On yours.
Yeah.
And I love it, man. I love the energy that he's had. It's like this second phase of his career. And this is a tough fight. Jalen Turner, man, this is a tough fight, a tough matchup.
Well, I've gotten to know Renato Moicano down in South Florida a little bit, and what really does amaze me, talk about his English. He's like mastered the English language. He's a brilliant guy.
Yep.
Obviously, his flow speaking English isn't perfect yet, but he has a great understanding. He's got great energy. I'm drawn to him. But an interesting matchup tonight. Moicano is big. Jalen Turner is bigger. Jalen Turner, I've heard people refer to him as an elite fighter, a couple split decisions recently and then followed by a win. Where do you see that matchup for Renato?
Well, stylistically, it takes two to tango, right? And, in the press conference, it was interesting. Moicano said he's coming for the money. He wants the bonus. Turner said, I just want to get the win. Now, I wonder if his conservative output is going to maybe cramp Moicano's style, or maybe it fires him up a little bit and we find out that Moicano's chasing him in a way that makes him even more exciting. I don't know.
Well, here's the hard part about those $300,000 bonuses, right, is that I kind of almost think you're gunning for performance of the night. I mean, are we kind of all under the assumption that fight of the night is off the table already? Like, they've already got the checks in the back, Justin Gaethje, Max Holloway, they're already written in an envelope ready for them?
Right. I was already thinking it. I was like, over or under 5 Showtime kicks off the cage. If there's $300,000 performance bonus, I'm doing cartwheel kicks, whatever I can. Because especially like Cody Garbrandt, he's the first fight of the night. Imagine he gets a knockout, then you have to wait 12 other fights and be like, dang, was that one better than mine? Was this one better than mine? So you have to do something outrageous to guarantee that.
But if I'm Bo Nickal, who's minus 2,000 or whatever it is, certainly the odds are he might finish that fight. So if I'm Bo Nickal, I'm licking my chops at that 300,000. Certainly biggest favorite on the card.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. We can look at the odds courtesy of DraftKings Sportsbook real quick to sort of set the tone tonight. You mentioned Bo Nickal, the biggest favorite on the card. It's a ludicrous number. Minus 1450, that might have changed. I don't know where it's going to end up closing, but that's the thing, too. You talk about getting people to care. Bo Nickal has gotten people to feel something for him. Sometimes it's not always positive, but they have a feeling about Bo Nickal, and that's half the battle.
Yeah.
And, you look at his wrestling credentials, I understand it's a different sport than mixed martial arts, but when you're a multiple-time national champion, you're going to be able to get things that other guys don't get as quickly in your MMA career, and Bo Nickal has done everything right. Now it's up to Cody Brundage to do something that no one else has been able to do, and that's spoil his night.
Well, let me just say, I'll give a plug for CFFC Match Day on UFC Fight Pass, and just say that Division I college wrestling is a phenomenal base to start from, especially when you talk about at the highest level. But the thing that I think Bo Nickal has a little bit extra too is not just the fact that he's got that amazing athletic and wrestling base. It's up here, right? You talk to anybody that's around him, they'll tell you this dude is different, mentally strong. And Belal, you can speak to it. This game is so much mental, right? Don, you can speak to it too. I mean, it's not just about tactics and skills. I mean, it's all in the head when you get in there, I think. And I think Bo Nickal is something special.
You get to a certain level, every fighter is even, So then it comes down to mental skills and conditioning, After that, because everybody at this level, They've learned everything they could. Every different style. They've fought their way up there, and it comes down to conditioning and mental toughness, and they both coincide. The better condition you're in, the tougher you are mentally.
Yeah, and everybody could say, I'm the hardest worker in the room, but every fighter does wrestling, every fighter does kickboxing, grappling, jiu-jitsu. That mental part, that's a big one, because I've seen so many great fighters inside the gym, but then they can't put it together when it's fight night because the nerves come into it, your mindset, you can't make the adjustments in between rounds. If something goes wrong for you, or if one of the guys defends your takedown, you're a college wrestler, then all of a sudden you start panicking and you start, man, should I strike now? But Bo could do it all. He's confident everywhere, and I think he's just been at the big stage his whole life. So, I don't think this stage is going to be big for him at all.
I love the fact that they put him on the main card, by the way.
Yeah.
I know it made a lot of people mad. I get it. But I think that's part of it. I think, UFC brass, what's going to really piss people off? Let's do this because Bo Nickal's already got a little heat around him. Let's get some real heat on him.
Well, they got to go for the future.
That's it.
And this guy's the biggest ticket for the future.
Absolutely. Well, and if it's a future champ, having been on 300 in the past, but you start that fight out, right? As that first round begins, all eyeballs, but if my brother said if that goes into the second round, imagine if they're on the stools after round one with a favorite on paper like that. So for Cody Brundage, man, what's the mindset? Not a lot to lose.
Yeah, you got nothing to lose. It's the biggest stage right now. I'm coming out Masvidal flying knee, and then if it lands, it lands, because if I rush him quick, then we'll see where Bo's at. Bo's been the guy that he's been feared, right? People are backing down. They're like, oh, he's going to take me now. He's going to take me now. You come at Bo head on right away like a truck, and then we'll see how he reacts.
Yeah, that's the hard part about that, right? It's like you think you need to move backwards and defend, and that actually works against you because now your footwork's in the wrong position. You need to be meeting that head on, So
yeah,
it's interesting.
And especially like his style, right? He's a college wrestler, so his cage wrestling I don't think is really there yet.
True.
So also if I'm pushing at him and then he shoots at me, then all right, let me run my back to the cage real quick, use that cage as a third leg, and then we'll see how he adjusts.
Yep.
Make him adjust. But a lot of these guys, they're nervous, right? So they're backing down a little bit when they see Bo. Like, oh, he's going to take me down. They're expecting to get taken down.
Right.
If I'm Brundage, I'm charging.
Nobody's pushed him.
Exactly, yeah.
They've all worked one direction, which is backwards. You got to try work pushing him and see how he goes backwards.
Yeah, you can't shoot a double leg going backwards.
No, you got to pressure him, and see how he handles the pressure.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, it's X Rounds here live inside T-Mobile Arena, the site of UFC 300. That, of course, goes on tonight live on pay-per-view. And, of course, the early prelims headed your way live on UFC Fight Pass. But we are in the midst of a battle right now. It's been going on all week. It is the greatest of all time BMF tournament. Let's take a look at our current bracket. This is how it all started. Robbie Lawler.
I think it was fixed.
We're going to get there, Don. Robbie Lawler was that number 1 seed. He took on the number 16 seed, Tony Ferguson. But what Don Frye is alluding to is over there on the bottom of the right side of the bracket, the number 3 ranked Don the Predator Frye taking on the number 14 ranked Dan Henderson. And let's look how everything shaped up after the first round. Don Frye, you're in business.
Yeah,
you're there. You get past Hendo.
I won one.
Yeah, I mean, against one of the best guys to ever do it, in my opinion.
We got the knockout.
If you're gonna beat somebody, you got to beat Henderson.
Right. Lawler advances. Justin Gaethje, we're going to see tonight in an actual BMF title fight. He got past Max Holloway, so maybe that's a sign of things to come. We'll find out. Anderson Silva got past Mark Coleman. Vanderlei Silva takes on Anderson Silva, but let's move ahead to the next round and see where we're at right now, because voting is still open as we head into our finale. So this is the semifinals. Justin Gaethje, he got past Robbie Lawler, big upset there. He takes on Anderson Silva. You can vote on that one right now. Don Frye, though, comes up short to Nate Diaz.
Come on, Don.
And I mean, what happened, Don?
Like I said earlier, they got his closest relatives all double vote. And it just went south from there.
I mean, you didn't get hit with the Stockton slap, though, right?
No. If you're gonna lose somebody, lose the Diaz.
Right. Yeah.
His style.
Yeah, absolutely. So people can go vote. Voting closes here at I think you got like 4 minutes. So go vote right now. We're gonna crown a greatest BMF of all time. And that was really sort of the problem, guys. When we were coming up with this field, it's hard to sort of delineate what a BMF is and what a GOAT is, because a lot of people are like, where's Khabib? He's the greatest of all time. But Khabib's not a bad MFer. Like, if you're a BMF, to me, I got to be nervous in your presence. Like, I'm nervous
Yeah,
to
I'll
be
let you
around
tell
Don
him that
Frye.
to his face. All right, I'll let you tell him that to his face.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
when he says send me location, TJ, you
Sure,
let me
but
know
like-
if he's a BMF or not.
but I would invite Khabib to dinner, and I know he would like compliment my wife on her terrible cooking. You know what I mean?
All right, so Belal is welcome at dinner in your house, and you don't fear the #1 welterweight contender, but Don Frye can't come to dinner, and you fear him.
There's a reason there's 2 people between me and Don Frye. It's terrifying.
I'm taking your wife if he comes to dinner. So
Absolutely.
that's right. You don't want him
He got more chest hair than me right now. We're good right now.
Not only am I eating dinner, but, you know.
But Don, you got upset. You're the 3 seed in this tournament. Nate Diaz was the 11 seed.
Yeah.
Little disappointed, man. I'm not gonna lie.
Nate tends to cheat. I'm sorry. You know,
The
that's
judges
all
suck, bro.
Yeah, judges are bad. Nate cheats. You know, it's all a racism thing. That's all there is to it.
Okay.
I think
I'm white. I'm white, and everybody's against me.
I think the voters need to pull up the Don Frye catalog and go revisit that. You know what I mean? That true BMF of the early days of the sport, man, the Hall of Famer.
Yeah, absolutely. Don Frye was actually my first favorite fighter. I actually found more about mixed martial arts because I bought the UFC video game.
Yeah.
Don was not in it, so I typed in Don Frye because I needed to get his height because I was creating a fighter. That led me to the Sherdog.com Fight Finder.
Wow.
And then it snowballed from there.
That's
So,
amazing. That's a
yeah.
great story.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I didn't get a penny for it either.
No, but I'm afraid of you, Don. You got that going for you.
That's true. Fear is a great motivator.
Absolutely, 100%. So go vote. We're going to crown a greatest of all time BMF today here on Extra Rounds. But we got to talk about how we got to UFC 300. Of course, it all started over 30 years ago. UFC 1 in what largely was a paid program for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
Royce Gracie,
Yeah.
this very unassuming guy.
Big infomercial.
I mean,
Yeah.
to most people, he was wearing pajamas. It was a gi. No one really knew what the gi was outside of like karate. I mean, John, did you know what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was in 1993?
No, absolutely not. I mean, that was when a Taekwondo gym was on every corner, right? I mean,
Right.
that's what was around. So the first time I saw it, that's what captivated me. And I've got the similar story to so many. Like, seeing Royce Gracie do what he did blew my mind. You know, I mean, the first time I saw a triangle choke, I'll never forget that. I'm like, you can choke somebody with your legs?
Right.
Like, what? I had no idea. So truly, I mean, I know it's probably hard for newer fans to understand, like, truly how revolutionary this was. It really did change our idea of what a fight was at that point.
And it depends on who you ask, but the original plan was to have Rickson Gracie do
Right.
UFC 1. Rickson was a massive hulking species of a man. You know, he was a specimen, and I really don't think it would have played as well if Rickson went out there and choked everybody out.
Right.
You know, it had to be the frailer, smaller, unassuming guy.
Because what would everybody say, right? The people in the early days, I think most people that saw it were renting VHS tapes at Blockbuster, right? Like, that's where they saw it, right? And when you would talk about it, they would say, oh, yeah, that skinny Brazilian kid, like in pajamas, they would say. Because it is. So had it been Rickson, as you said, who was just this behemoth of a man, you know, chiseled Adonis, I don't think it would have had the same impact on us. You just be like, oh, well, yeah, I looked at that dude. He's clearly a badass. He went out there and beat some people up. Okay.
Right.
But But when you saw a skinny kid that you were like, that dude, like, if that dude was messing with me in a bar, I would run up on him immediately, and you would make a horrible mistake at that point.
That's somebody in the library you pick one, you know.
Exactly, right?
Yeah, but, you know, Royce changed all of our lives. You know,
Yes.
Gracie Jiu-Jitsu changed all of our lives.
100%.
You know, we grew up thinking that once you hit the ground, the fight's over, it's lost, you know, go home. But, you know, he says that's just where it's starting, man. Now you're in trouble.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, as we progressed through the single digits of the UFC, we started to get to, you know, the UFC teens. And that was sort of the era where you came in, Don, and you had a great rivalry with Mark Coleman, and we crowned a champion there. You, Ultimate, I think 95 or 96.
96.
Yeah, so that you fighting Tank Abbott in the finals of that tournament hooked me. And I'm not going to lie, I was cheering for Tank Abbott. Because, okay.
Yeah,
I'm
lot of similarities. I see that.
Hey, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But I will say
It
this.
means the punching power, TJ.
No. But I will say this. Tank falls down, and you immediately get on him. And it's an iconic moment for me, Don, because you're bleeding, you're in bad shape, and you snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. And it shows what it takes to win in the hardest challenges that a human being can face in combat sports.
Thank you.
And obviously that leads to
Life. You know, you get knocked on your ass, you know, it's not over. You can get back. You can lay there and suffer, or you can get up on your feet and keep fighting.
Absolutely.
And that's what martial arts teaches you.
How did he lose in the BMF tournament? I'm telling you. Come on.
We should have had a press conference beforehand.
Absolutely.
We don't want it over 100%.
Where's my $300,000?
And by the way, if there was a press conference, Belal Muhammad would have been leading it because this was all your idea, Belal. This was your brainchild.
It
was, though. It was.
Right. I didn't even get in the bracket, so it's all good.
Because there's nothing that's BMF about you, man. No offense. Are you intimidated by Sweet Belal Muhammad? Yes, he can beat my ass. There's no question. You can make me look like Don Frye when he fought Tank Abbott. No doubt about it.
You're saying you would put him in the Wonderboy Thompson like NMF bracket, right?
I want him to come hang out with me at my house and play video games. That's not something I would say about Don, because Don, I would probably beat Don in video games, but I would have a broken gaming console, and I'd probably never look at video games the same if I beat him.
I'd eat all your goldfish just right in front of you and your children just to punish you.
I know. Well, my son probably join in and just be like,
I'm not a BMF. I won't do that.
Right.
I like Uncle Don. That's what my kid would say. So. The voting is closed right now, so we're going to have our tournament finale here in just a few moments. I kind of feel like Chuck Liddell is going to get past Nate Diaz.
Well, you know what? Let me interrupt here. First off, I want to go back to Mark Coleman.
Yeah.
God bless him.
Yes.
This man, he's just saved his parents from a house fire. This man was born to be a hero.
Yeah.
Born to be a hero, like Hercules. And he was a national champion in college wrestling from Ohio State. And then he made one or two Olympic wrestling teams. Then he came into UFC 10, beat the shit out of me, took my title, and then a few years later he wins the Pride Grand Prix tournament. The stuff the guy does is phenomenal, just amazing, and saving his parents in that house fire was just great, man. The greatest. It was like I sent him a text, Mark, I'm glad you're alive, but I'm also sorry that you got cheated out of a great death.
Oh, man.
That would have been a great
That's some next level badassery.
It is. It's true. It's true. And that's the thing. Like, if you are someone that follows Mark Coleman, Mark has been pushing himself so much lately, trying to get in the best shape he can be in. And in his mind, I think he's preparing for a fight. He wants to fight. But, they say sometimes all things happen for a reason.
Yeah.
What if he wasn't in the shape that he was in? He probably doesn't get through and save his parents.
Point.
And, the way that he was able to get through, like, most people don't survive what he went through. And I firmly believe it's because he was in as good a shape as he was in. And
Great point.
We're talking about BMFs. Like, he's the bravest MFer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There you go.
Like, that's crazy what he did. And, it's great to see him around the sport still because he has so much to offer. You talk about qualities, Don. I think that Mark Coleman might be the most loyal person I've ever seen,
right.
In mixed martial arts, with his relationship with Kevin Randleman and the rest of the Hammer House guys. Like, he never left where he came up. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people, they go and train all over the place. Mark Coleman was OHIO through and through.
And, bro, he was a scary man.
Oh, yeah.
Scary man.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, and then you got Stipe chicks there, Did I say that right or wrong?
You can say anything however you want to, sir.
I butchered it. Mark and I were talking on the phone. He says, you used to be a fireman. And I said, yeah, wasn't it great getting in there? It's exhilarating. He says, Stipe's got the best job in the world. He's a fireman and he's the world heavyweight champion. He's got the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
And Mark was smart enough to recognize that and say that. And, I agree, but, what am I going to do, disagree with Mark Coleman? I think he's right, man. That's the best of both worlds.
I've got the results. We have a tournament finale set for our BMF. You want to do it?
No, I love it.
You do.
I love it. All right. Gaethje over Anderson Silva to punch his ticket to the championship.
Yeah.
And to no surprise of me, 209 Nate Diaz beats your boy Chuck Liddell. The final. Justin Gaethje, Nate Diaz. That final to me seems really appropriate.
Yeah. It's one that you could see actually being put together for a BMF title. Nate fought for it against Masvidal. Like, they definitely define everything that it takes. All the boxes are checked with those two gentlemen to be a BMF.
Nate Diaz got his whole family voting for him right now, bro. How they cheated the system right now? Come on. How's happening?
Diaz and Gaethje, they belong in the BMF. I mean, they're both just enough on the civilized part of the world to use silverware when they eat, But they're also on the other end where they don't have to use that and they just wipe their face, with their hand. And, I mean, they're cavemen, and they fight like cavemen.
They do.
So who's the favorite?
Oh, Nate Diaz.
Yeah, by a lot.
And no
3-1,
disrespect to Justin
300?
Gaethje. Justin Gaethje actually. I mean, we're talking baddest motherfucker. It's Nate Diaz. And he was the 11th seed. Nick Diaz was the 6th seed.
Yeah, they went against each other.
And Bob Lawler is the number 1 seed.
Right.
I like that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's Nate Diaz for me. Don't disrespect for Gaethje. We're gonna watch him compete.
I think
a few hours.
I think it's when you add in everything like outside of the cage too, like not just their fighting style, right? Because it is so hard to define. Because Justin Gaethje is one of the scariest human beings that's ever done this sport, right? I mean, that dude just car crashes when you go in there. Like that you're going in there for a fight, and I mean he is so dangerous.
This is my face. This is where you punch.
Exactly, 100%. But Nate has all the stuff outside of the cage as well, right? That just elicited that like entirely loyal following, that fan base for him. So I get it, but Gaethje's a bad man.
No doubt.
Bad man.
I'm surprised we never saw that fight in real life in UFC. Like,
Yep.
That fight would have been crazy. Both of them guys back and forth.
Maybe not off the table entirely.
Yeah, I mean, I still think we're going to see Conor and Nate 3 at some point. There's no way
have to
their careers end without getting that last chapter in the octagon.
Nate does triathlons for exercise, just because he's bored that day. Come on.
Yeah. They're he and his brother Nick are two of the most unique individuals you can ever meet in life, not just combat sports. And let's get back to Gaethje though. He's got a very tough Max Holloway in front of him tonight. BMF title on the line. When the BMF title was first announced, people kind of like the purists groaned a little bit. It's like, I mean, you're raising your hand.
I was that guy. I was like, what are we doing? Like, come on, man. We don't need to make up these stupid titles. Like, we got titles. We got world championships. This isn't WWE. We don't need the Intercontinental title or whatever we don't. So I was that guy. And then fight week rolled around, and then they
take away his microphone.
Well, look, I converted. They pulled out the belt, and I saw that BMF title. I'm like, that thing is looking sharp, right? And then you get The Rock involved, like one of the biggest stars on earth presenting it. So I was that guy at first, and then it got done, and by the time the fight rolled around for the first one, I was in, and I remain in. I actually hope it sticks around. I like it now.
And here's the thing: I don't think it really takes away anything from the divisional title. When you look at it, Don, it goes back to kind of your era. It's a super fight belt. They just call it a BMF belt today, but it's a super fight belt.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Everybody
deserves a trophy when you're elite level like that. It's not a participation trophy. I'm not saying that, but when you can,
it's something you earn,
right? Absolutely. I mean, you're not going to get a BMF title by fighting a guy who's 0-2 in the UFC. It's going to be a badass, Hall of Fame type guy like Max Holloway. Let's talk though about the divisional rankings though, because they're both number 2 in their respective divisions. Gaethje number 2 lightweight, Holloway number 2 featherweight, and the featherweight division has changed a lot for Max. It's not Alexander Volkanovski at the top of the division. This is a fight that is for a BMF title, but I think for both men, whoever wins and gets their hand raised, they're making a large argument for their own division to go back and get another title fight.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, when you talk about the BMF belt, right, and you think about a guy like Gaethje who absolutely punched his ticket to fight for the undisputed belt when he head kick knockout Dustin Poirier, right? And now Dustin Poirier is probably going to fight for that belt. So for me, the entertainment component to these fights, like I'm still not necessarily the biggest fan of the BMF belt and all this stuff, but I've grown to accept it a little more because there's some entertainment that inevitably sort of gets into this sport. There's a lot of things that shake up in these divisions, right? For me, Justin Gaethje, even if he gets knocked out by Max Holloway in the first round, doesn't take away from his contention for the belt in his division. So for me, it's pretty complicated. Max Holloway is very interesting to me. That featherweight division sort of wide open for me. If he gets through Gaethje here, I think he could be undeniable to be the next man to face Topuria.
Or would he go up to lightweight though? I mean, if I just beat Justin Gaethje, who everybody's saying is number 1 at the next in line for Islam, it's like, why would I want to go back down? Max Holloway cuts so much weight. We even saw him yesterday. He was like still looking drained. He said, I put muscle on and everything. Like, he hates cutting weight, no matter who it is. Even Aljo moving up to 145, he still cut a lot of weight to get there. Like, guys think it's going to be easier when you move up, but we're just fighters. We're dumb, right? We'll just eat more. I don't have to jog as much. I'll just eat more on the off days.
Much, yes.
And then you still have to kill yourself fight week.
Going back to our BMF tournament, polls open now for our tournament finale. They'll be open until 2:45 Pacific time. You can vote on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. So go do that. Who's it going to be? Nate Diaz or Justin Gaethje? Go vote, and we will crown it before our day is over. That's the thing. You talk about the different sort of versions of Max Holloway. Like, this guy has been in the UFC for so long. It seemed like maybe he was at the end of his, career and the idea of being a champion, and then this sport changes so fast, so quickly. It is very much, what have you done for me lately? And you bring up a great point. Like, if he beats Justin Gaethje, like, yeah, maybe I need to reevaluate Max Holloway at 155 pounds. Like, it doesn't seem that to me that would be a likely outcome, that Max this late in his career has potentially a title run at 55, but why not? If anyone's going to do it, Max Holloway.
Well, and he's got the fans behind him, too. You know what I mean? Like, if all of a sudden Dana White comes out and says, man, this is a great win, guess what? We're putting him for the title next. Like, what fan is going to go, not Max Holloway. I don't want to see that guy fighting for a title. You know what I mean? Like, everybody's like, okay, I'm in.
I still think, though, it's too clogged at 155. I mean, Sarukyan and Oliveira, right? I mean, so for me, ultimately for Max, yeah. And, dude, Max looks big. He's big. I mean, they talk about how big Gaethje is. Max ain't much smaller than Gaethje.
I know.
Bro, I've seen Max bigger than me. Like when I'm fighting with him, I fought on a couple cards, and I was like, bro, how do you make 145?
And it's incredible because he really did come in as a baby. I mean, he was a teenager when he showed up, and it was like, and it was so funny because all the people, in the Hawaii knew they were watching the regional scene. They're like, this kid's gonna be something. You're like, this scrawny little teenager? Like, are you sure? And, man, look at the career he's had. I mean, undeniable Hall of Famer, fan favorite. I mean, as you said, a guy deserving of being in a BMF title fight. And just, like I said, I mean, who doesn't love to watch the guy fight? Yeah, and I wonder if he's not the most famous and important Hawaiian fighter of all time at this point. I know BJ Penn is in that discussion. Ooh. I was just in Hawaii, and I was wearing a UFC Hearts Hawaii shirt on the island of Oahu, and everyone came up to me and talked to me about Max Holloway. Everybody. But you know what? And I think this is such an important point, right? Because this sport has growing tremendously, and it continues to grow tremendously. And there's a lot of people that can't put those careers into context because they weren't there and they didn't live through them. It's true. So is currently Max Holloway the deserved most popular Hawaiian fighter? Absolutely. Right. No question about it. But when you talk about the most important of all time, man, I think you got to give it to the one that laid the groundwork. To me, it's still BJ Penn. And I don't think that would hurt Max Holloway's feeling to say that either. Absolutely not. I mean, to be in the conversation with someone like BJ Penn when you're, of Hawaiian descent is truly an honor. And that's the thing, too. Like, I don't want to get too far in the weeds here, but Hawaii is so important for the journey and evolution of mixed martial arts. It was the halfway point between people in the States and people in Japan. They would meet there and compete on shows like Rumble on the Rock. What BJ Penn did, BJ always marched to the beat of his own drum. They brought Takanori Gomi in to Hawaii, and BJ's essentially his own promotion to fight him when Gomi was the best in Japan. And, I mean, I don't know. I understand that BJ fell in hard times in the latter part of his career, but some guys just don't know when to quit. And when you're as good historically, you're going to continue to get opportunities. And if you want to fault BJ for anything, it's just not being able to advance into not being a fighter line. And it's just crazy how much the sport has evolved too, right? Like we saw Royce Gracie. We just talked about what he means to sport, and then he takes years off and he comes back, and even in that time the sport had already moved forward, and it moves so fast. So it's just so hard to put people from these different eras against each other and talk about the skill sets because the game has just evolved so much. But you can never forget those that laid the groundwork, like Don Frye, everybody that laid the groundwork for this. You know what I mean? You could say, oh, well, I don't think they could compete in today's UFC. Yeah, you're right, because it's a whole different sport. It's changed, and so it's hard to compare the two. This might be a hot take, but I still firmly believe it. Prime BJ Penn beats Prime Khabib Nurmagomedov. Ooh. He does. That is a hot take.
That'd be a great one.
That seems like a poll for Twitter right there.
There you go. I mean, we did we did a fantasy lightweight Grand Prix, and I wanted to have BJ at the #1 seed, and it didn't work out well for me. So.
Khabib's been in Belal's corner. Where he's standing.
But I'm NMF. I won't do another NMF.
Oh, yeah, right, exactly. You're not afraid of him. You're good.
When we get off the air, we're going to dig in the archive. I'm going to show you everything you need to know about BJ Penn.
I trust you. Believe me. I trust you.
No,
you know
so
I
cool.
like listening to
I was literally with BJ Penn and Mark Coleman yesterday. We were doing meet and greets, and BJ Penn. Wow. There's a lot of Hawaiians that are fans that are here, flew in for Holloway, but every single one of them is, oh, BJ, you're a legend. And it's cool for him to experience it because he's like, you're a real fan. Like, you know me, you're a real fan. Yeah. Because a lot of these new age kids, they don't know him. Like, nobody, they're not going to go back and rewatch tape of the older fights.
And they haven't gone before, UFC 100.
Yeah, exactly.
200, they don't know.
So it's always cool, like BJ Penn says, like when those fans that recognize me and talk to me and respect me, it's like you can tell those are real fans of the real sport.
And dude, think about and Don can speak to this, but I mean, you talk about that era of fighters. It wasn't like we had thousands of hours of tape to watch of a sport. It was like going in there like, we don't know what's going to happen in this thing. You know what I mean? Like it was not regulated the way it is now. It was not. It was people. That's what I say. It's hard to compare those eras because what you guys did was crazy. It was true pioneers.
It was a different animal. It really was. Yeah, you did not know anything about your opponent. You knew his style, so you had to figure out what the style teaches, how the movements are in that style. But that still doesn't mean that this guy is going to do it, in the form of kata, and do it.
Yeah, how about that? You didn't have like YouTube videos you could pull up of your opponent to watch and see what they're about. You're showing up, I don't know nothing. And that was, nobody cross-trained back then, right? No. The Brazilians had that magic art. They weren't letting the Americans come down to Brazil to learn that. You know what I mean? It's just a totally different time.
It's so funny because literally now I have amateur fighters in my gym. They're like, oh, should I take this fight with this guy? He doesn't have no tape on YouTube. And I'm like, bro, you're an amateur. It doesn't matter. Just fight. Like, go out there. And it's like basically it's a fight at recess to see what happens. Yeah. You don't got to watch tape. You don't have to do a camp if you're an amateur fighter.
Yeah, I mean, I remember going to the shows in the Midwest back in the day, and, the fighters would go with the idea that they would fight someone, and then they might fight someone from the crowd because someone didn't show up, and some guy got a little bit drunk and said the wrong thing to the promoter, and then that guy had to go home with an 0-1 pro record. I mean, that's just the way it worked.
Yeah, my first amateur fight was against somebody from Miguel Torres' gym. And, I didn't know who he was until I showed up there. But I knew who Miguel Torres was, so I assumed, dang, he's probably good because he's from Miguel Torres' gym. But I didn't know the guy's name or anything about it. We went in there, it was a street fight. So, it was it wasn't great.
Amazing.
Yeah. My buddy, John Morgan's son's, 5th grade teacher.
Yeah.
He fought, and he fought for a title, and his opponent was coming up and apparently he was late, and it was 6 hours after weigh-ins, but this guy had to weigh in, and they sent a photo to my friend of his weigh-in result. It was supposed to be the scale, and it said 1:45. It was he made 145 pounds. It was a microwave. It was a minute 45. I'm not kidding you. But there was no athletic commission. So I was just type in one. You may wait. See, it's digital.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
You remember Gerald Harris? He used to have a joke. He'd call it fighting on the regional scene. He was talking about fighting on the bum fighting leagues. And he was like, we would just get on opposite ends of a seesaw. And if it bounced out, we were good to go.
Yeah. All right. So it's UFC 300. We're reliving some of the old days. We got a trivia segment. You guys want to do some trivia?
Uh-oh.
Let's go.
I mean, I think we should be a team.
Okay.
I think we should do it as a team.
All right.
So we'll get to it. Let's do it. I'm going to press some buttons.
Is there a $300,000 bonus?
I'll give you
gift cards.
I'll give you 3,000 pennies.
All right, I'll take it.
Okay. What is that, $30? I don't know. All right, let's see here. What do we got to do here? I'm going over here. This is hard work, by the way, guys. It's the most elaborate setup we've ever had for extra rounds. And
all those buttons, and I'm like, I don't know what to do right now.
Got to bring it for 300.
I don't really know.
Them buttons are pretty.
Bro, some of this old school trivia, though, TJ, that's
the problem.
Your wheelhouse.
I have a very, niche timeline where I can get everything, but and it's all from 2002 to 2004. You asked me what happened 6 months ago. I don't know.
Well, between all four of you, John Morgan and Don and Belal, I think we're in good hands.
I think we're going to do it.
Belal's got the modern era for you.
All right, here we go. The inaugural UFC flyweight tournament saw Joseph Benavidez and Demetrius Johnson as the last two men standing. Who did they defeat in the semis to advance to the final round? I think I know this. I definitely know one. Yeah, because that was the weird draw. Do you remember that?
Ian McCall.
Yeah.
And then
is it Kyoji Horiguchi?
No. It was another Japanese fighter, though.
Okay.
The tall one, right?
Yep. It was because Horiguchi came in later.
Okay.
Oh, I'm trying to remember his name. That's going to kill me.
Did he fight at Tachi?
I think he did. Yes, he did. You're right.
Yeah.
So we called his fights.
Yeah. It wasn't Mamoru Yamaguchi, I don't think.
No, it wasn't him. Because Yamaguchi had the crazy hair.
The afro,
Yeah, the afro.
I don't know who it was.
Is this a little early for you, Bilal?
I mean, I remember McCall.
It's 2011-ish,
2010,
2011. Yeah.
Give me the name. I'm going to be so mad afterwards.
By the way, I don't have the answers.
Oh, you don't have the answers?
Oh, you don't have the answers?
He's got the answers.
The Viper.
Arushitani.
Yeah.
Yoshihiro Arushitani.
The weird
Oh, yeah, Rushatani.
I thought we were going to go the weird draw. I was thinking it was going to be like a trick question over what the results were or something. I thought you were going to bring up that draw. Remember, that was a weird situation, right? Because they announced the winner, and then we went back to the press conference afterwards, and Dana was like, well, got some news here. That was actually misscored and misannounced. That was a draw, and there was actually a rule in place for the tournament that they would have an overtime round. But because the scorekeeper and the judges misadded it and they announced the winner, they didn't get to use the overtime round that they were supposed to have.
Wasn't it something like Ian McCall ended up getting like a 10-8 round?
Right.
Because he lost the first two or something like that.
It was like a point deduction.
It was crazy. And, I mean.
So they had to run it back.
Math is hard, guys. I'm telling you.
Tens and
really hard.
Wait, was it a 3-round fight or a 5-round fight?
3 rounds.
Yeah, 3 rounds.
And they couldn't get.
I mean, I've called some fights where we've had amateur undercards, then we get to the pro, and then you get to that first pro fight, and then all of a sudden you're like, that round was really quick. And you realize, they definitely had that first pro round
Screwed
3
up.
minutes.
Yep.
Wow.
But whatever. No harm, no foul. Just keep going.
If I'm a fighter, I'm taking it. Right?
Well, it depends on if you're up in the round or not.
Yeah.
If you lose, then you just file the appeal. I want my other team. All right, next one.
We got like half credit there.
I mean, not a full strike against us. TJ Dillashaw was to defend his bantamweight title in a rematch against Renan Barao at UFC 177, but Barao had to pull out, so this unranked contender stepped in to fight Dillashaw on short notice.
It was in California.
I know who this is. This was another Tachi vet.
He fought at Tachi.
Yeah, former Bellator champion.
It was like 1 day notice, right?
Yeah, it's Joe Soto.
Joe Soto. Yeah, I remember that. That was a crazy situation.
Yeah. He had fought like at Tachi 2 weeks before that, I think, too, and he just got the call up and then found himself in the main event against Dillashaw. Didn't Barao like slip in the tub or something?
Yeah, weight cutting issue. Slipped while he was cutting weight and hit his head on the tub, and so he didn't get cleared. That was in Sacramento, I believe.
Yeah.
Soto had like a great fight, and you expected him to have like a good UFC career, but it wasn't really much.
Didn't really pan out for him, but what a strange circumstance.
That's why I became a heavyweight, because cutting weight was just too
terrible.
dangerous.
Joe Soto could fight for the belt in 1 day notice, but I still can't, huh?
Yeah, right?
We got like a year notice for you. We're getting it done, man.
Tick. Yeah.
It's the slow burn, like good things come.
As I was saying, it like hurt a little bit, so it's all right.
All right. Number 3, Nick Diaz made his UFC return at UFC 137 in a fight of the night bout against what former champion?
Oh, BJ Penn.
It's either BJ or Anderson. I think you're right. I think it's BJ because I think the Anderson fight came later. The Anderson fight came closer to UFC like 200.
Yeah, it was.
Right?
I think you're right.
So BJ?
I'm going BJ.
BJ? BJ Penn.
Yes, sir.
Yes. They wrote down Joe Soto like we weren't going to get it. Come on, guys. I'm offended by that.
Man, my 300,000 is adding up quick.
It's adding up quick. We're getting them pennies for you.
All right, here we go. Who did Robert Whittaker defeat to earn the undisputed UFC middleweight championship in 2017? I think he got the interim by beating Kelvin Gastelum.
Yep.
I think.
No,
who did he beat? He got the interim. Was it Yoel Romero?
Yoel Romero.
Was that the interim though?
Yeah, because
there was a lot of interim belts around that time, and I felt like Whittaker was in a bunch of title fights before he could call himself the actual
rematches.
Yeah.
And Bisping wouldn't fight him. Bisping fought Henderson after that. Yeah, I think he had the.
Is this when GSP came back too and he won the title and vacated it right away?
Yep. So it would have been 2 guys fighting for the undisputed belt, right?
Yeah. So Romero was definitely in the mix.
It's got to be Romero. It's got to be Romero.
Yeah.
The rematch? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, it's got to be. Yeah.
Because that was after. Yeah, it was after GSP vacated.
So we're all agreeing. Yoel Romero, final answer.
Final answer. Lock it in.
Yoel Romero. Trick question. Well, this is stupid. He defeated Romero for the interim title and then was elevated to undisputed champion.
That's why we were thrown off. We were like, I don't remember him fighting for an undisputed title.
You guys used to yell at me when I would give the fans trick questions.
See what happens when we get Joe Soto right? Like, we're going to make sure they get this next one wrong.
Terrible.
All right. After a fight of the year loss to Anderson Silva, Chael Sonnen fought what 2 middleweights before losing a rematch to Silva in July of 2012. Brian Stan, you absolutely suck.
Yep.
I remember that.
Brian Stan.
And
his words, not mine.
And
Not his
Brian
words.
Stan's going to be in the building tonight, all right?
I'm just
I think so.
sorry.
Yeah.
You're all right.
Brian Stan and Michael Bisping?
Yeah, it's got to be. Yeah, I would say Bisping, right? Yeah. Stan and Bisping.
Still like seeing my boy Stan's name on paper. But would you have action on Stan that night? Or what?
No, that's what Chael Sonnen said in the post-fight interview.
all right.
You think I would actually say that about the greatest American living today?
Stan's a legend too, man. For everything he accomplished inside the cage, but obviously what he did out as well, man.
He's sitting up across the parking lot with his scope and his rifle, waiting for your ass.
You gotta put that clip. Keep it
I'm
up
going
there.
out the other way.
No contact. Just put Brian Stan. You absolutely suck.
Right.
All right, let's move on. That never happened. Okay, we already did that one. Here we go. Before claiming the heavyweight title against Fabricio Verdum at UFC 198, Stipe Miocic, or Stipe, as Don says, knocked out this former heavyweight champion in just 54 seconds at UFC 195.
TJ, you know that.
I
know you do.
Is it Junior Dos
It
Santos?
has to be JDS, right?
Yeah.
Has to be JDS.
Yeah.
Andrei Arlovsky. Oh. Wow.
Oh wow.
Man, I totally forgot that.
You know, what's crazy
I
about
totally forgot
Arlovsky
that.
is people were talking about him being past his prime and shot in 2005.
Right.
And then he's like pulling off big wins, much later than 2005.
Yeah, he's somebody you definitely don't want to bet against, 'cause
No.
you never know which one's going to show up.
He was with us yesterday too, and I'm like, I'm with all the legends, but I'm like, wait, Arlovsky's still fighting it. So I'm like,
Yes.
is he considered a legend now, or?
I mean,
is that still like current.
He's been, through so many different phases. He's multiple legends within himself. You know what I mean?
I'm a massive Andrei Arlovsky homer.
Yeah.
It's the guys that you cover for 15, 20 years, you know what I
Right.
mean? Like, how do you not develop an affinity for him where you're just like, I want to see the best things happen for him? Obviously, as media members, we're not supposed to be cheering for anybody. We're not supposed to have rooting interest. But, Cowboy Cerrone was a guy that I just was always – I wanted to see great things happen. When you cover somebody's career for that long – you just want to see good things for him. It's amazing that he's still around. Because, man, how many times in the Shirt Dog forums were they trying to write him off? You know what I mean?
All the times.
All the
times. That's the thing, too. You play his highlight reel over the course. I think he made his UFC debut at UFC 28.
It's insane.
Like, he looks like a different human being from the first fight to – because, I mean, it's 20-plus years.
And
you know
you
what I
talk about the early stars that maybe people can't contextualize either. He was just the guy with the fangs.
Yeah.
That dude. Who's that
Yeah.
dude? That dude's badass.
Yeah.
Fans are
Yeah.
going to say that. The guy with the fangs because he had that fang mouth.
And he didn't have to talk a lot. He was a quiet guy. You know what I mean? Belarusian.
Well, he couldn't
you know.
talk. He didn't know anything.
That's right. This is true.
That's true. That's true. All right, next one. Here we go. This fighter won TUF 26 by defeating Roxanne Modafferi to become the UFC's first ever women's flyweight champion. That's Nico Montano.
Nico Montano.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
That one's easy. Next. Boasting big wins over divisional staples Courtney Casey, Angela Overkill Hill, and Jessica Aguilar. This retired strawweight title challenger is now revolutionizing the sport of submission grappling via the Fight Pass Invitational.
Claudia Goodell.
There you go. Claudia Gadelia. Right?
Very nice.
Easy? Yes. Okay, perfect. All right. Since the strawweight division's inception in 2014, only 2 champions have not successfully defended their titles. Who are those champions? One is Jessica Andrade, right?
One's Andrade. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
She beat
Yeah.
Rose and then lost to Wei Li.
Yeah. And
Did Wei Li defend?
She has to.
yeah, she had to defend it. She defended last, didn't she?
No. Like, she's on her second title run.
Yeah.
So who did she defend first? Who did she fight after she beat Andrade? Because when
She
she
lost
fought
to Rose.
Rose,
She lost to Rose.
She lost to Rose.
Yeah, because when she had the fight with Joanna, she wasn't champion.
That's interesting.
I think
Oh, yeah.
I think
You might be
I think
onto
you were, I
something.
think you're
It's
right.
got to be, right?
Yeah.
So
Final answer.
Carla Esparza.
Wait, didn't she defend?
yeah,
No.
that's recent too.
I was thinking of it.
Yeah, she never defended in either
Yeah.
title run, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Man, I hit.
Bad job out of you guys. Like I have no expectations myself with this stuff, but for you guys, like John Morgan, TJ DeSant, come on,
Do better, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, you're allowed a couple strikes in that bat, okay?
Yeah,
we don't
right.
have 3 yet.
Yeah.
We got like 1.5. That was our first legitimate.
a legit strike,
with
yeah.
that one, yeah. All right, next. Okay, so this one's a little bit different. This is basically outlining a run to the title and whether or not they won or lost their title opportunity. That's irrelevant. It's just these are the wins they got to get to a title fight. So run 1, Leonard Garcia, Mark Hominick, Dustin Poirier, and then run 2, Dan Ige. To get to 2 title opportunities.
So what are we looking for? 2 more names?
No, so
This is
it's
one
who.
person.
So one person did this in their first title.
It's
run to a title was Leonard Garcia, Mark Hominick, Dustin Poirier. So that's
Korean Zombie.
what I'm thinking.
I'm thinking you're right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Has
That's
to
it.
be.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Korean Zombie.
Korean
Let's
Zombie.
go.
There we go.
One for the
We're back
boys.
on the board.
Does he have that on his driver's license?
I would, right? You get pulled over, the guy looks at you like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Zombie?
Give me a real ID, McLovin.
Mom.
All right. Next one. The run to the title. CB Dalloway, Talis Lachis, Anderson Silva. Ooh.
Harrison Silva. Interesting.
Say it again.
CB Dalloway, Talis Lachis, Anderson Silva.
To
Michael
get to a title
Bisping?
shot.
To get to a title shot.
To
Gotta be
get
my-
to the title shot.
Yeah.
It has
so,
to be Bisping.
So not beat.
Yeah, it had to
Yeah,
be
it has to be
Bisping,
Bisping.
right?
Has to
yeah,
be
it has to
Bisping.
be.
Yeah.
Bisping?
Bang.
Yeah.
Nice.
Let's go.
There we go.
Little momentum.
That was a tough one.
That was a good one.
Good job. Luke Rockhold, Jacare Souza, Corey Anderson. This is tough.
Oh, that's an easy one.
Rockhold, Jacare, Corey Anderson.
Blackowitz.
Ooh. I think
Jan.
you're right.
Blachowicz, final answer.
Wojtovich, there you go. Wow.
Killed that
Roll
one.
it.
Man,
Well
I know who
done.
I'm calling for my lifeline if we ever get on the real Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Okay. Kim Ji-yeon, Macy Barber, Joanne Wood, Viviane Araujo. Is it Alexa Grasso?
Yeah.
Is it?
That's my final answer.
It is.
Okay,
Yep.
Alexa Grasso. Grasso. There we go. Nice.
I forgot she fought Macy
Strong.
Barber. That was a
I
good
forgot
one.
about that one too. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, Randa Marcos, Heather Jo Clark, Rose Namajunas.
Sparza.
No, because
No, yeah,
Rose
yeah,
would
yeah,
have
yeah,
been
yeah,
the title fights
So,
then.
no, that's, give it to me again.
Randa Marcos, Heather Jo Clark, Rose Namajunas.
Who do you want to spank you?
I got nothing for you, TJ.
So the Rose fight would have been like a title eliminator.
Yeah.
Who did Rose
Lose.
come up short to?
Zhang Weili.
Yeah, it's got to be. It's got to be. Yeah.
Gotta be, right?
Got to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Zhang Weili. Karolina Kovacevic.
Oh.
Man.
She beat
yep.
Rose?
Yeah.
Forgot about that.
What? Was it a
Forgot
split
about that
decision?
run. Yeah.
See, this is stuff that I will get 2 years from now. It
Yeah,
hasn't
yeah,
committed
yeah.
itself to my long-term memory yet. But, all right. Alessio Sakara, Jesse Bongfelt, Tom Lawler, Demian Maia, Mark Munoz. Is that Chris Weidman?
That's why.
Gotta be.
Yeah.
Chris
he is.
Weidman.
Good
There we
call.
go.
Well done. Well done.
Jesse Bongfelt.
Jesse the Water Bongfeld.
The Water Bongfeld.
Yeah. Jesse the Water Bongfeld.
Yeah.
Great nickname.
All right. Okay. So this is a different sort of trivia question. This is the main card of a numbered UFC event, and we have to guess what the main event was.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. That's
I
easier
like
than
it.
guessing
I like
the
it.
number, though.
I was
think.
gonna
That's
say,
because
yeah.
Some people have
The
where they can
number-
remember the number. I can't remember those
I
anymore.
can remember 40 through 60, but that's it. So, Anthony Smith, what? Okay, bonus point for number and location.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So that's kind of a hint. So, like, kind of think of maybe who,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
the local draws
Yeah, yeah.
would be. Anthony Smith versus Jimmy Crute. Uriah Hall versus Chris Weidman. Valentina Shevchenko versus Jessica Andrade. Zhang Weili versus Rose Namajunas.
I feel like that was MSG.
I feel like it was MSG as well.
Did Weidman snap his leg in MSG?
Yeah, I think he had like the worst luck.
Really?
That's
It was
what
in his own
basing it
backyard?
off of.
Was
No,
it?
Weidman snapped his leg in Jacksonville.
So it's Jacksonville is the location.
Okay. Is that a Usman and Colby?
No,
No?
I believe. Is it Zombie Volk?
This would be your wheelhouse more
Come
than
on,
mine.
come on, Jay. Come on, do it. Lock it in. Lock it in.
I mean, it's your home
This
state.
is
If it's in
Jacksonville, I
Jacksonville.
think maybe it was Zombie Volk when, like, beginning of the fourth round, Volk's like, "You sure? You sure? All right, you know."
Are we comfortable going with that?
I have to.
Yeah, I think you're convincing us.
Is that it?
Read the fights one more time.
Okay. Anthony Smith versus Jimmy Crute. Uriah Hall versus Chris Weidman. Valentina Shevchenko versus Jessica Andrade. And Zhang Weili versus Rose Namajunas.
Yeah, that was an MSG.
That was Jacksonville
Yeah,
for sure.
I was gonna say,
Jacksonville
I don't
for sure.
think. I don't
But
think.
there were a couple Jacksonvilles in a row, right? Because they after the pandemic. It was a full house. I know that because I remember seeing it. I remember.
Was this the first Jacksonville show back with a crowd?
See, I don't think Rose was. You don't want to go to
that was Jacksonville because Rose was very upset. Or no, Zhang Wei Li was very upset about getting booed, I think, there, or something like that.
Yep.
There was something about the fans, and that was definitely Florida. And it's weird because I feel like Piotr Jan fought somebody there, an American, and Peter was the one that got cheered. It was weird, a Russian getting cheered over the American. Was that? That wasn't Alger.
I don't know. Let's just roll the dice.
So what are you going?
I'm going Jacksonville.
And what's the main event?
Was it Zombie Volk? It just feels wrong every time I say it.
What's the number? We don't know. Something between 100
74?
and 300. 261, Usman versus Masvidal.
We
knew there was Usman.
Oh, yeah.
We were on it.
Weak.
We're in the ballpark.
I hate you guys.
That's a tough one. This is tough.
We got the country right.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
All right. Michael Chiesa versus Diego Sanchez. Jan Blachowicz versus Luke Rockhold. Jorge Masvidal versus Ben Askren. Amanda Nunes versus Holly Holm.
That was Vegas.
Yep.
Super necessary. Who was the main event that night?
Was Colby Usman?
That might be that. I don't know. Did Colby and Usman fight twice here, or was only one here? Because I feel like they fought in December of. They fought like right after that Quintet Ultra card. It was the same weekend, I think. But I don't know.
Got to go with Belal's instinct, I think, here.
Right?
Okay.
I just feel like there's a lot of welterweights on this card, so I would assume that they would have a welterweight main event.
So we're going Usman, Colby?
The production crew's rooting against us at this point,
They are.
I feel.
They are.
So,
They are. Jones
UFC
Santos.
239.
Wow.
I tell you what.
Thiago Maheta Santos?
Oh, I forgot about Jones Santos.
Dang. Now I'm not feeling good anymore.
I know.
Yeah.
We were on a run. Now we're grinded to a halt. The momentum had stopped.
All right. Tim Means versus Saba Hamasi. Mike Perry versus Lim.
His debut?
I can't say that.
Yeah,
say that.
Hung
Anik.
Yu Lim.
Hung Yu.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was his debut. That was the handshake. Remember the famous handshake? Yeah.
Donald Cerrone versus Rick the Horror Story.
Rick, the horror story.
Anthony Rumble Johnson versus Glover Teixeira.
Gosh.
They went old school with that one.
I can't help you there. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, I don't know.
Now I'm out here trying to just like watch them write. See if I can read their letters.
See what the hand movement, the hand is making?
TJ, this has got to be you.
This is not. I mean, again, Give me something from UFC 40s.
Something feels like San Jose to me for that one for some reason.
San Jose.
I don't know why. Something feels like San Jose.
Cain Velasquez, JDS?
Let's go with that.
But
McGregor Diaz 2.
Oh, my God.
Las Vegas.
Really?
okay.
Let's just move on.
Gee, how did we not remember all the other fights on that card? I mean, come on.
Right.
You know
All
what I
right.
mean?
Jared Rosholt versus Stefan Struve. Robert Whitaker versus Uriah Hall. Mark Hunt versus Antonio Bigfoot Silva. Joanna versus Valerie Letourneau. In my mind, this happened in the 1940s, guys. I don't
Right?
remember.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. I got nothing there.
Was that in Australia?
It's Holman Rousey.
Is it?
Go.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
Holman Rousey, Melbourne,
Yeah.
UFC 193.
100%. You're right.
Yep. All right, did we get all the points on that one?
Come on.
I think we did. Yeah.
Let's
we
go.
did.
Let's go.
Clean sweep,
Let's go.
baby.
That was
Clean
clutch,
sweep.
saying Australia. That was
Yep.
huge. Awesome. All right. Dustin Poirier versus Diego Brandao. Jim Effin Miller versus Fabricio Camoish. Travis Brown versus Josh Barnett. Ronda Rousey versus Misha Tate.
That is Las Vegas.
And Ronda and Misha weren't the main event.
No. Was that a Connor fight?
Brock Lesnar?
Connor would make sense to be the main event over Ronda. Because it's got to be someone huge if they're going to be a main event over Ronda Rousey.
I know it was Vegas. Give me the card one more. It was Holman Tate. Right?
Holman Tate?
Is that what you said? No, that's
No,
that was the
Misha.
co-main?
Misha and Ronda.
Misha and Ronda.
That was co-main.
Oh, Misha and Ronda was the
Yeah,
co-main?
so it's Misha
who
Ronda
mained
2.
over them?
It's got to be. I mean,
I would say Brock, somebody.
I don't think was Brock really fighting when Ronda was. Not really.
I just tried to cheat. They were tilting that paper toward me, but I couldn't see it.
I'm looking at their hands. I'm like,
Yeah. I just feel heavyweights, man, but I don't know.
I think it's Connor. I think we're right with Connor, but
All right.
Connor
somebody.
So are we just taking a
Kattar
pass?
out?
I don't know.
No, wait. Who would have? Rousey was not. You said Rousey was.
Rousey's co-main.
No, they wouldn't put Rousey and Connor on the same card. That's too many pay-per-view.
It sounded like John Morgan.
But
really
who's going to be
knew it.
over Ronda in the main event? So maybe it is a heavyweight. I don't know.
That's something of Brock. Belal saying Brock.
I feel
for Brock.
What was the carryover between Ronda and Brock fighting at the same time?
Because they both were going to the WWE after that, and they wanted.
When did Brock fight Alistair Overeem?
This night.
Would that be
140 something?
No, I don't know.
143.
But I don't think that would have been a main event.
Brock again.
It's got to be a title
That
fight.
was an all heavyweight card,
This
right?
this has got to be a title fight because Ronda's fighting Nisha for the title.
Yep.
So it's got to be a title fight.
Why should it be like random?
Yeah, that's probably.
So we could go a heavyweight title fight. Cain Velasquez versus Bigfoot Silva? I don't know.
Let's go. Lock it in.
I don't like that. Don't feel
JDS?
good. I feel like we already said that and we're wrong on one. So I don't know.
We just keep saying it until it's right.
We're missing an obvious big fight? That era. Obvious big fight. So is it a heavyweight fight? Not a heavyweight fight.
Okay.
Is it Anderson?
Silva Weidman.
Oh, Anderson Silva.
Silva Weidman.
Ooh. Which one? Because that's how they're going to do it, too. I'm like, oh, you didn't say one or two.
Silva Weidman won the.
I was at Silva Weidman 1, but
was
I don't
too.
remember Ronda being there.
So Silva Weidman 2. Final answer.
All right, we're going with Anik. Yes!
Let's go.
Yes!
Let's go.
Good job.
Talked it through, fellas.
Oh,
Talked
my
it through,
goodness.
gentlemen. Well done.
I'm way too fired up for this. Like, I'm more fired up for this than I am the card later today. I got problems. Pablo Garza versus Mark Hominick. Javier Dos
129.
Anjos versus Mark Bocek. Francis Carmont. This is
129.
This is Condit
Shields.
and St. Pierre.
Oh, that one?
I think so.
There's TJ.
Wait,
What's
can-
the number,
can go through
TJ?
them
It's not 129 because that one had Hominick and Aldo.
Oh, Hominick and Aldo was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
go through it again.
Pablo Garza versus Hominick. RDA versus Mark Bocek. Francis Carmont versus Tom Lawler. Johnny Hendricks versus Martin Kampman. Yeah, it's got to be. I don't know what the number is, but it's Condit. St.
It's all
Pierre.
right.
Yeah.
Number is not required. That was bonus points.
Yeah, and
So-
it's Montreal.
Yeah. 100%. 153.
154.
Yeah,
Oh,
TJ DeSantis.
So
we're
close.
so close.
We almost got that bonus point.
Yep.
We're good. All right. Starting to feel better about it. We only got 3 left, unfortunately.
Okay.
4 left. Okay, so we're now in the history books. This is a stats-based question. Although many bantamweights are not known for their heavy hands, this fighter defies the stereotype with a UFC record 7 knockouts at 135 pounds. Who's got the most knockouts at 135?
Cheeto?
Cheeto?
Yeah. That was the big stat in
Oh,
Miami,
yeah, him
right?
and we're tied.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was a
Cheeto
tie.
Vera.
Cheeto Vera. TJ Dillashaw.
Wow.
I thought that was the stat.
Cheetos finishes. That's what was scary.
Put some respect on the name.
Yeah, right?
Really? Dillashaw?
We have to check with the stats department on that one.
Yeah, I think so. All right, this former heavyweight
Why are we
champion
taking
made
their word for it?
Yeah, right?
this former heavyweight champion made waves with his exceptional ground game, boasting a UFC heavyweight record 8 submissions.
Verdun.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Yeah,
Verdun.
Verdun.
It could be Mir.
I was going to say
Oh,
Mir, but I know
Verdun
much
had-
less
yeah,
than you guys.
You know
Yeah.
what? Mir had too many fights outside of the UFC. I mean, Verdun. So Mir. Mir.
Yeah. If you're talking like Strike Force, Pride, all
Yeah,
that,
yeah, then
they-
definitely.
Yeah, but we're going to Frank Mir.
Frank Mir does it again. Let's go. Let's
done.
go.
Well done.
I love that open in the Anik and Florian podcast. I made that open.
Did you?
Yeah, I made that open. Yeah. Good luck hitting this guy. This active ranked bantamweight contender has the lowest amount of significant strikes absorbed per minute in UFC history at just 0.56 strikes absorbed per minute. Dominic Cruz?
I wouldn't guess anyone else. Shout out my
0.56.
boy. But I think it might be a tricky question, but you got to say Dominic Cruz.
Dominic Cruz.
Yeah, have to be.
Yeah, Dominic Cruz.
I tell you what,
Good
Sean
footwork.
O'Malley's pretty tough to hit.
I don't know. Who do we want to go with?
I mean, I think Dom seems more obvious. I'm gonna let you guys figure it out, but
Yeah, you know what? Dom's been
know.
in too many like high level fights, right? Not that Sean's fighting it, but he's still new to it, right? Like not multiple championship fights where you're gonna take some damage.
And
you might be right.
And also too, like, are we factoring in WEC fights? Because Dom had WEC fights.
Right.
Those don't count necessarily.
Yeah.
So
And Dom got hit a lot in that Cody fight. So.
Yep.
yeah. All right, we're going O'Malley.
Umar, your
Umar
boy.
Nurmagomedov.
Hey,
It's a nice stat.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
That's a tough call, yeah, because you're not really. But makes sense.
I was not ready to read that name half spelled, and then Frankie threw this paper across the floor.
Umar's enough.
There's no rest when you're in the cage with this active lightweight veteran, as he owns the record for the most submission attempts in history with a staggering 48 career attempts, which is kind of a backhanded compliment.
Yeah.
It's like
Finish 'em
there's
all.
a lot of attempts and not a lot of finishes. But
Most submission attempts in UFC
Jim
lightweight
Miller?
history. Jim Miller?
Got to be Jim Miller.
I mean,
Gotta be Jim
to
Miller.
have that many fights.
Yeah.
Not RDA. Jim Miller.
Jim Miller. I'm going Jim Miller. RDA had split between welterweight, too.
Be Jim Miller.
Jim Miller.
Jim
Fucking
Fucking
Miller.
Miller.
There we go.
Is Buffer going to do it tonight?
No.
Is
It's
he
on
going to at least
ESPN.
lay out? Is he going to go, Jim?
I like whoever did
Oh,
that.
that's a
random-
good idea.
That's what he should do.
I saw
That's
some
a good
random tweet
idea.
that had that, and I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, I may see. I don't know. I'm up here doing this. I may not see Buff before, but that's nice. I like that. That's a good idea. Laying
That
out.
second fight, we're walking down at the first fight, right?
Yep.
Jim.
Yeah, lay out. Everyone will fill
I got
in
an
for
idea.
you.
We could call him right now.
Yeah, that's your boy.
Live on the air. We
That's
can
your
call
boy.
him.
Yeah, let's
He'll
do it.
answer.
Talk him into it.
He will.
You want to do it?
He might be meditating before the broadcast.
Is he hold on, can you see? Is he stretching down
Probably.
there right now?
I mean, he's probably getting like some
He's,
online
he's in the gym
programming.
doing pull-ups. Like, what do you guys want, man?
All right, we'll think about it. We'll think about it. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back and kind of look at the clock, see where we're at on this BMF tournament, and just get you more primed up for the big one that is headed your way. It's UFC 300. Where's my promo button? Do you see a promo button anywhere? Where is it? There's so many buttons.
Did you get Don Frye to look at it? He knows where it's at.
Yeah, let Don Fry
I think
press a
Don Frye
button.
programmed it
You
over
just
there.
wanna
I'm a technologist.
pick let's try this one. It's extra rounds here in Vegas at UFC 300 live on UFC Fight Pass.
The greatest night of fights ever assembled. That is what UFC 300 is going to be.
Are you kidding me with these prelims?
You know it's going to be all action.
Any fight on the prelims of this card could be a main event. The best fight card ever assembled. People are never going to forget.
Live on UFC Fight Pass.
We are back here on UFC Fight Pass. TJ DeSantis along with the crew, my guys. Remember the name Belal Muhammad, Jason Anik. Most people think he's John for whatever reason. Look at that hair. It's not John Anik. John Anik doesn't wear a wig when he's not on the air. Don the Predator Frye, the Hall of Famer, and the guy in blue, John Morgan, who was almost my boss one time. Yeah,
That's true.
He came very close to hiring you.
Yeah.
And
I actually had business cards printed and everything.
I have one of those business cards.
really?
I really do.
Amazing.
Yeah. So.
I almost ended up in shirt off.
Yeah, man.
How
How
history
things have
could've
changed. I know. But yeah, we are inside T-Mobile Arena here. It is the site of UFC 300, and we're talking about all things that are monumental. And we got a great card. We also got a great fantasy match that's unfolding right now in our BMF tournament. It is Nate Diaz. I keep wanting to say Chuck Liddell because I thought he was going to win. But it's Nate Diaz versus Justin Gaethje, who, of course, is defending his BMF crown tonight against Max Holloway. Go vote. Still a few more minutes to do so as we are marching towards the top of the hour where our early prelims start. Obviously tonight is a very big card, and it's great for many reasons, but can I say just a little side nugget to give some props to Sean Shelby and Mick Maynard, because they have done such a wonderful job not only putting together this card, but not really having a bunch of cards that suffered, entertainment-wise, because you're stacking 300. I think that matchmaking has got to be the hardest job in all of combat sports.
This run of pay-per-views that we're on right now is sick. 298, 299, 300. A lot of great fights back-to-back. It's been fun. It's been fun.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how 301, 302, 303 play out, because I do think that's where the challenge may come in terms of stacking these cards. But we don't need to worry about that yet. We were talking about Bo Nickal earlier tonight, and that is one of the few fights on this card to me that maybe is not close on paper. There are a lot of these fights that I've really gone back and forth on. Even the first fight of the night, I was talking to Belal earlier in the week. I really like Davison Figueiredo. The more I see Cody Garbrandt, I think he's here for the moment. A lot of these lines have moved. You see a lot of money coming in on Max Holloway, all the Hawaiians coming in town, playing their boys. So let's get after some of these fights. Belal Muhammad, that first fight of the night, you lean in Figueiredo, you think Garbrandt gets it done? Talk to me.
I'm leaning more Cody. I've seen Cody the last couple of weeks. I've been in Vegas, and he just seems in the right headspace. His body's healthy, he feels healthy, and stylistically, after watching Figueiredo's last fight against Font, he had to go to the takedown, right? And Font doesn't have the best takedown defense. I don't think he's going to be able to do that with Cody. Cody's takedown defense is really good. I think Cody's going to be a lot faster. Cody's been fighting smarter, sticking and moving, staying on the outside, and I think he'll be able to do that. Yeah, he asked for this fight. Remember that. He wanted Figueiredo. He said, I want this fight.
And that's what I was going to bring up, too. You go through the ups and downs in a sport like this. It's hard to get motivated. Ray Longo talks about it all the time, about a fighter getting to the top of the proverbial peak, becoming a champion, and then losing it, and not necessarily having the same sort of drive and the motivation to get back. And I'm not ready to say that Cody Garbrandt is going to march his way back to a title, but he's saying all the right things to make me think that he wants it just as more as ever. And I think that's half the battle when you've accomplished the things that he's had. And let's be honest, I mean, the training sessions, John, are not getting easier with age, We
talked about it early on, right, man? The mental space is such a big part of it, man. It's so hard to keep that focus high. And, look, he went through some stuff outside of the cage that he's kind of shared a little bit of. And then, that's not things that people like to talk about when you're breaking down fights is, how's the situation at home and stuff. But you think it doesn't matter? It absolutely matters, man. That kind of stuff is big.
Jessica Andrade, people didn't know she was going through that, what she was going through, and she said, now I feel clear-headed. My body, my mind. And I tell people, as a fighter, you could have the best camp of your life, 6, 7, 8 weeks, and then if something happens at home or something just triggers you, I could get on a phone call right before I'm walking out with my dad or something happens, and it just changes your whole mindset. It erases the whole camp.
Don, as you progress through your career, I mean, you had two different sides of fighting. Fighting here in the States and then going to Japan, which, I mean, that had to feel like a completely different world, compared to the early UFC days.
Absolutely. It was a little bit more civilized, And in the early days of the UFC, we're kind of shooting from the hip, I mean, hell, you all talking about weight classes. We didn't even have a weigh-ins.
Right.
We didn't have scales. They just took our word for it.
Yeah. I mean, it was the Wild West over there. But what motivated you, Don? What kept you hungry, in the latter stages of your career?
Latter stages of my career would be my children. I wanted to give them a good solid upbringing, and make sure that whatever they wanted, they could have.
Yeah, I went back and watched your fight, your second fight with Mark Coleman, Pride 26. I think it was Bad to the Bone, 2003, and it was such an interesting time because both you guys, I think, were in similar spots in your career. Yeah. What was that fight like? I mean, because there was a rivalry with you guys, but you could tell there was a respect level that was off the charts in that fight as well.
Yeah, it was. Both our heads or hearts weren't into the fight. I mean, we were both, going. Had a bad marriage. And we both had 2 daughters, and we're both on the same mental downslope, and you could tell it in our performance.
Yeah. How real was that rivalry? Was there any bad blood, or was it just all competitive?
Oh, I hated him. He beat the hell out of me, in UFC 10 at the time when I thought I was, invincible. And I was just so traumatized, I guess. I watched that fight every day for about a year and a half or so, and I just couldn't get over it, I don't know if it was pride, ego, competition, what it was, but I just couldn't let it go.
Yeah. We talk about Cody Garbrandt, I think, being in the right mental space. Jason, where do you think Figueiredo is, at this point in his career?
That's a great question, and that's something really I've been trying to ask myself, because when you don't see Brandon Moreno on the other side of the octagon, and you're not fighting for a belt, you're the first fight of the night. Figueiredo's a guy to me that I mean, I consider him one of the best flyweights of all time.
Sure.
You know, and I still think there's a lot of, we talk about the MMA prime, and you have a guy like Vicente Luque, who may be only 32 years old, but clearly on the backside of the mountain for me. So a lot of these guys, I think, can have revitalization. You see Glover Teixeira realize championship at 42 years old. So for me with Figueiredo, I don't always know what I'm going to get. Right? I know he's going to be durable. I love that he's not cutting to 25, but I don't know what I'm going to get. And that's why I'm sort of leaning Cody as the week goes on.
What do you guys think?
I'll tell you what, coming into fight week, I was thinking Devin Figueiredo, but all the things that you're saying I'm getting those same vibes from Cody Garbrandt. And if you're looking to throw down a little wager, I believe he's still a pretty sizable underdog
plus
as well.
+260, I saw.
And boy, there's a lot. I think that's what's so interesting about this card, because I think there's a lot of lines on here where you look at it and you're just like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I don't care who they're fighting. I can get that guy
right.
at underdog money.
Yeah.
I'm taking that guy. I don't even care who's on the other side of the cage. And I think he might be one of them.
Yeah.
Charles Oliveira's the underdog right now against Arman, right? I mean, I'm picking Arman, but I'm like, the fact that he's an underdog.
It's amazing, right? But you see Charles Oliveira as an underdog. I think that's almost like you got to put down some money on that just because.
Well, go ahead.
No, I was saying that Charles just announced that he's having another baby, right? And then I saw somebody's stats saying that the last time Charles had a baby, he went on that long 8-fight winning streak after that.
He knows them bills are coming, man. He's got to get us some wins.
Well, and even the main event, and Jamal Hill, I consider a friend, but even that main event, very tight. That line is tightening up. And for a line, I think that line compares sort of in a way where Alexander Volkanovski, Topuria. There was a reason why Topuria Volkanovski was almost a pick-em on paper. Yep. Respect to the challenge. I think Jamal Hill's getting his respect, and he deserves it.
I was almost surprised to see that line when it came out, and I'm glad to see it because I think of the star power that Alex Pereira has right now. I just assume that the odds makers and the public were just lean very heavily towards Alex Pereira and not really see how competitive that main event is on paper. So I was surprised to see that line, but happily surprised that line because Jamal deserves that respect. Obviously, I think we all have the same question, right? Is he 100%? Right. He says he is. He says he's ready to go. Will that factor in? But if he is 100% the way he says he is, he's actually very competitive in this fight.
Your random fact, the most common injury in America right now, Achilles pulls.
Really?
Not from pickup basketball games, but from pickleball, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
that is crazy.
America.
Yeah, very weird. Very weird. But, that's the thing. I see the people that are maybe not leaning towards Jamal Hill in his return. They're pointing to that he's confident. And there's a fine line between confidence and cockiness, and that is success. But I kind of like the way that he's conducting himself.
These two men right here can speak to it better than I can, but this is the thing from years and years of observing MMA. You have to have almost insane self-belief in yourself in what you're going in there to do, right?
Borderline delusion.
Lock yourself into a steel cage with another trained killer.
Yeah.
If there's one sliver of doubt in your mind, that self-doubt is going to creep up and bite you in the ass. And so I always tell people, I get it. You say, oh, that dude's a little too cocky for me. No. You have to have that self-belief. You have to have that I know 100%. I think Chris Weidman, when he was coming up against Anderson Silva, I mean, that guy, and that was Anderson Silva at his peak. We're like, who are you picking against? And he's like, I'm going to beat that guy. All those things. You have to have an almost unhealthy level of self-belief. So I hate when people judge guys like that. That's what you want to see out of a cage fighter.
Yeah, I mean, think about if you had a pre-fight interview where you're like, I'm coming in off an injury, really nervous about it. It should be fine. I don't know. What do you want?
Shit on the carpet.
Right.
And I don't even there's guys that look like they're faking it, right? When they act like they're confident. Jamal is real. Everything about him is real. He really believes when he says it. Yes. And it's not like he's not being even disrespectful with it. Hey, could I get an autograph of my thing? We don't have to create a fake beef or anything.
Right.
And that's what I love about him. And people just don't know how athletic he is. He injured himself playing basketball, but
he was on fire. That 6'3" frame rising up from 3-point range. Dude, electric.
Jumping, spinning. You're like, how is this guy 250 pounds right now, however much he was, and moving like a lightweight? And then I sparred with him even before that fight got announced in California. He was like, yo, can we get some training in? And I was like, all right, I'm eating right now. He's like, all right, let me know when you're back. And I was like, bro, why are you so thirsty to train? We're here watching the fights. Chill. And then he's like, yo, I got 300. And then I'm sparring with him. And he's like, moving so good. And I'm like, how's the leg? He's like, bro, feels great. And when you're working with the UFC PI and you're working with,
the best
Heather, the best of the best, and she gives you that okay, she means it. She's not going to sit there and be hesitant about it. She knows it. Yo, you're ready to go. Let's go. He got a nutritionist he's been working with for 5 weeks. He looks better. His body feels good. And, you're watching not the embedded, the countdown, and he looked huge in it.
Yep.
And he's like, bro, I don't know why they come out my house like 6 weeks before. I'm like, dude, at the end of camp when I'm at least in shape.
Right.
But Justin Gaethje said the same thing. He said, bro, I know I'm trying to have abs in those videos. They don't come until like 10 weeks out.
It's it's funny, man, because obviously we have emotional ties to these fighters, and Alec Bejeda is such a fan favorite right now. I mean, we all know the walk-in and everything. It's amazing. I'd love to see him win, but there's something inside of me that just wants to see Jamal win. That video where he announced the fact that he lost, and I love the fact that they kept the camera rolling, and I love the fact that they decided to put it out. But that moment where the announcement is made and he just collapses and he's fighting back tears, I mean, you see what this means to him, and to have it taken away from him, for something as silly as a basketball game, not even training for a fight or something like that. I mean, I would love to see nothing more for him as a person to come back and just, I think, shock a lot of people. As we said, that betting line, I think a little more respect than most people expected, but shock a lot of people. I would love to see that tonight.
Yeah, but you got Chuck Liddell in the other corner.
That's the thing that I do like about Jamal stepping up and going for it. Like, he can pick up not where he left off, because this is a bigger win, in my opinion, a much bigger win. No offense to Glover Teixeira, but this is, Alex Bejeda came in, and he's still a baby, and he's already Hall of Fame worthy, with what his UFC run is. Jamal Hill gets this win tonight, and, we're going to be talking about Jamal Hill as one of the all-time greats, and he'll be a two-time champion, defeating a guy who's, is there anybody more red-hot, over with the fans than Alex Bejeda? I don't think so. I can't recall anybody who's come in and actually suffered some adversity. Let's not forget, this man's been knocked out, but he's rebounded in a way where it's like, you don't need to know what he's saying to love this man. And that's truly something special.
Yeah, I kind of think that he shouldn't even learn English. I think he should just keep it because the unknown. Because he doesn't like to talk. He doesn't need to talk. But the fans just love him because they just assume by his facial expressions. I know what you're saying just by your facial expression right now.
Well,
just Shama. That's all he has to do. Just walk around Shama. That's all you got to say.
I don't know, in your experience, John, or yours, Don, being around Anderson Silva for years, I used Ed Soares as the translator. And then just one day I walked by Anderson. He's like, "Oh, what's up, dude? How are you?" I'm like, what? It's like, They know more than you think.
There's a little bit more mystique, right? I mean, how about the great Fedor Emelianenko, right?
Right.
You know what I mean?
He only could have hurt his mystique.
That's it. He had mystique. Why? Because we never said anything. We don't know what he's thinking, so it's cool. You know what I mean? Add something to it.
Absolutely.
So John, you've been covering this sport forever. You've seen a lot of fighters come from other promotions like Kayla Harrison and enter the big show. UFC 300, no bigger stage, never cut to this weight before, did get that done. I think she's looking to shut a lot of people up. The money line is
insane.
So prohibitive. But Holly Holm, 43 years old, I think it's a good matchup for Kayla. Don't know where she is from a striking component, but in terms of making this entrance into the big show, got to be some pressure on her tonight.
There absolutely is, and that's one of the fights I'm most intrigued by on the card, so I appreciate you bringing that one up. Because Kayla Harrison, I do believe Kayla Harrison is the real deal, right? What she was accomplishing outside of the UFC, she can replicate that here. She's amazing. 2-time gold medalist. Octagon jitters are a real thing. I've seen it over and over. I don't care. Pride, Strikeforce, WC, everybody's, no, I've fought in big arenas before. I've fought in the bright lights. Okay, but it's not like this. The press conferences, the number of cameras, it is different. I know it's a fight. It's
UFC 300, too.
UFC 300, so it is different. And I think there is pressure on her to deliver. Look, she's been building to this moment for a long time. You add in the weight cut. How does she hold up? But she is a phenomenal athlete, and Holly, you cannot discount how great of an athlete Holly is. Even at her age, she can make this. So I'm so intrigued by this because could I see Kayla Harrison picking up Holly Holm, throwing her on the ground, delivering nasty elbows on top? Yes, I could. Or could I see Holly never stop moving because she never gets tired, you know what I mean? And it's only got to go 15, not 25, and make it impossible for you to catch me. And now you're swinging, and now you're looking wild, and now I'm touching you up a little bit. I can see that too, so I'm so intrigued by this.
So, Belal, we've gotten to know Kayla. She's been on our show a couple times. She sang karaoke on our show.
Well, what'd she sing? What was the song? Remember?
I don't remember the song.
That means everything right now.
It was.
Was it from Frozen?
No, it was Whitney Houston.
How do you guys not remember this?
I Will Always Love You.
Oh yeah, I Will Always Love You. And it was a bet, right?
Yeah,
there was something, she lost a bet to you.
Yeah.
Was it about Juliana Pena over?
Manny Nunez, Juliana Pena. Yeah. The first one. Okay. Juliana Pena won.
But you know Kayla quite well. What do you expect from your girl?
I actually saw her yesterday at the weigh-ins, the inaugural weigh-in. So seeing her, she looked recovered. She looked good. She was in a good headspace. And you asked around other guys from American Top Team and stuff like that. They're like, bro, she's killing people in the gym. She's launching them, throwing them. And once she gets in there, she's going to launch Holly Holmes. And more recently, Holly Holmes in her latest fights, she's been more of a let me push you to the fence, using her grappling and you don't want to use your
She will
grappling.
not want to do that in this
Yeah,
fight.
you
That
do
would
not
be
want to
a
use that with
mistake.
her. So
Yeah, let's not get into the clinch. How about that?
exactly. And I think for Kayla, like, I know that she did, I think, three test cuts for 135, and she just like, all right, let me see how I feel tomorrow. Let me see how I feel tomorrow. So I think she's going to know how her body's going to feel today. People are like, how's she going to recover? How's she going to put it back in her? Like I said, you're working with the PI now. Like, there's such a science behind everything.
It didn't look easy.
Yeah.
I mean, you knew she would do it because that's the type of mental strength she has and the athlete she is, but it didn't look easy on the scale.
But like, I think that now the next day is the biggest part. Like, I tell fighters all the time, it don't matter. Just do what you have to do to get to that weight.
Right.
But the hardest part, the most important part is what you put back in you. Because a lot of guys want to rush, eat sloppy, like putting one wrong thing back in yourself, it just wastes your whole weight cut.
Yep.
But I think she's been an Olympian. She's been working with the best in the world. And I think she's going to come out really good today.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's the thing, too. You mentioned her elbows. I called one of her fights in 2020 where she could use elbows, and she wasn't allowed to do that in PFL. And she flooded the octagon that night with blood. Like, I'm serious.
She's
it was
vicious.
one of the most bloody fights I've ever seen. And, Holly Holm, a little more skilled than that opponent that night. But Kayla Harrison, if she lands a couple of elbows, like that pretty mat down there could be red real quick. So we'll see what happens.
Aljamain Sterling, Calvin Kattar.
Man.
So this fight, it's really interesting. So much at stake, I feel, for Aljamain Sterling here, right? Obviously, one of the greatest bantamweights of all time. I'd love to see him make a run at 45. Heard a lot of different opinions, and a lot of times with these UFC fights, I'll talk to fighters, and you can be sure, whatever the card may be, you got a fighter on one side and a fighter on the other. So talk to me, man. I know where you're leaning here, but what do you think?
I think it's a huge fight for both guys, right? Because Calvin Kattar, you're coming off a big injury, and he had his moments where he was on his run to a title shot. He was up there with the best guys in that division. Coming off that big ACL title, now you're fighting a guy coming up from 135, and you're like, all right, let's see where I am. Am I going to be too big for him? Am I going to knock him out? Do I still got it? Because for himself, him coming back to this huge card is going to be huge for himself. And now you're going against, it's going to be wrestler against striker. Yep. So you know what Aljo's going to do. He's going to do whatever he can do to take you down. But Kattar has really good takedown defense. We've only really seen him go against one guy that tried to take him down, and that was the Beat. And he defended a lot of those takedowns. Yep. Even when he got taken down, he popped right back up. The only time that he laid there was like 30 seconds left, and he started elbowing him off his back. But other than that, we've never really seen him get taken out or beat up. We've seen his teammate, Rob Font, get taken out pretty easily. Yep. But I think I've worked with Kattar before. He's a lot more athletic than him. I think it's going to be a hard night for Aljo if he's only coming there with the mindset, I need to take him down. Because I think Kattar's going to be able to defend a couple of those takedowns. I think Aljo has to go be confident in his striking.
It's funny because I was taking a look at the statistics ahead of this, and Calvin Kattar's takedown defense rate is like incredibly high. But then you think about it, and you go back most of his matchups, it was all like he was paired up with guys that would strike.
Striker, yeah.
Be a fun fight, right? So they're trying to do good matching. So it's interesting. I'm intrigued by this one too. And you know that camp, they're going to have a game plan. And he's not even a big kicker anyway, right? But you know it's going to be like, do not throw any kicks whatsoever. We're going pure boxing tonight, which is what he does anyway. That's going to make it, as you said, more difficult for Aljamain to do what he wants to do. So I'm super intrigued by it. I think Aljamain moving to featherweight was probably the right move. I mean, those weight cuts, I mean, you were starting to see him get like breaking in tears after he would weigh in because it was so emotional. So I think it's the right move, but this is just a stylistic, issue either way.
And I think on this card, how many fighters do we have where it's like, let's see what's next for them?
Right.
Max Holloway, see what's next. Aljo, if he loses, let's see where he's at.
Yeah.
Cody, let's see where he's at if he loses. Like, a lot of these guys, they really need a win right now.
Yeah, going back to the way that Aljamain lost his title in August in Boston, obviously it was tough, but mentally, I don't think he was in a good spot even coming into that fight. There were a lot of things behind the scenes that were bothering him. I think that, him coming into tonight's fight as a rebirth fighter at this new weight class, I think he's able to approach it as just a fighter and just another fight and not being the guy at the top of the poster.
I couldn't agree more. I just and I don't love talking about pressure because I'm not a fighter, but for Sterling, right? He's not getting booed, little few cheers out there. There's no belt on the line. To a certain extent, it's house money. It's like you all want to achieve the pinnacle. He's achieved it, and I think it's a favorable matchup for a guy like Sterling. What's interesting to me though is like Sterling would walk me all over the octagon, but being in person with him, I mean I'm bigger than the guy. Do you know what I mean? And some of these guys, so I'm interested to see how that size translates, no matter how tough that cut to 35 was.
Yeah, 100%. Let's talk about Jim Miller. I mean, this guy, UFC 100, UFC 200, 300 tonight.
Jim who?
Oh, You know.
Yeah.
You know.
He could have helped us with the trivia, Jim fucking Miller, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, Don, you as an old school guy, Miller is old school in a much different way, but you got to kind of look at him as a throwback fighter to just a different era.
Yeah, he has a completely different style and mindset as the pretty boys that they have walking prancing around the arena now.
I mean,
and by the way, I'm just gonna throw it out here now. A future UFC Hall of Famer.
Oh,
I
without
know that's a
without
debate
a doubt.
among some people. Not a debate for me. Longevity to that degree at this level of the sport is commendable. Hall of Famer.
Yeah, DC makes me so mad when he does that. I'm like, bro, come on.
That's just shtick, I think. Or something. He's trying for clickbait. DC's about clickbait now.
Headlines.
Why was Jim Miller not a UFC champion? Because he fought in the most talent-rich division, in my opinion. The 155-pound class is insanely talented, and it's crazy to think that 15, 20 years ago, they're like, we don't need lightweights. Just get rid of the division. You want to fight here, you got to weigh 170 pounds. Jim Miller fighting tonight. I don't know if Buffer's going to do anything. I hope he does. But I tell you, everyone in this building will drop an F-bomb tonight during that introduction, whether or not Buffer lays out for it. But, Bobby Green, a guy who walked away from mixed martial arts for a while, like, the idea that he would be on a UFC 300 card, I mean, that would have been the longest odds back then. He was retired. I think we were talking about Renato Moicano and the Renaissance and the rebirth. I think Bobby King Green has kind of got that where, like, he was an old school fighter that maybe most people didn't really know, and then finally just came out of his shell, is himself now. I think people love to see him fight. I mean, how do you not love the fighting style? They love the interviews. The best entrance into the octagon in all of mixed martial arts, right? He always does the leaping front roll into the cage. I mean, he's fun as well. This was one, I mean, I think there's a lot of matchups on here when they announce it where you're like, yay, but somebody's got to lose. I don't want to see that. You know what I mean? Great fight. Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, how do you pick it, John? Like, what do you think it looks like? I'm going. You got to add a couple points to the stats for UFC 300 Jim Miller. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think there's a little something extra in the can right there. So I'm Jim fucking Miller all day for me.
Yeah, the thing that gets me a little bit is he was just knocked out cold.
I know.
What was it, 6 months ago?
Yep.
And that was like one of the worst knockouts and late knockouts for a while. But like you said, Bobby Green, he's rejuvenated, and Jim Miller, man, he's been killing these young guys too. The thing, recency bias, I'm just thinking about when Jim Miller lost to Alexander Hernandez, and Hernandez was just piecing him up with his boxing.
Right.
Yeah. He's not the best boxer. When you look at boxing, I think of Bobby Green, who's fast, smooth, moves side to side. He did lose to Jalen Turner, but before that, he was on a good little run.
Yeah, right. Took care of Grant Dawson. Right?
Yeah,
it was big spot.
He got power in his
That's
hands.
an emotional pick with my heart, by the way. You laid out the very smart technical breakdown of it. I'm just going Jim fucking Miller all day.
I just want to say that.
I mean, I can't wait to hear CCR tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the best entrances. Like, I feel like athletes don't stick with one song long enough. When you come out with a different song every single time, like, I think John Jones should have never got away from Empire State of Mind. Like, that was his jam, but I don't know.
Now, Angry Johnny.
I like that one too.
That was funny.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I sit at a lot of these fight cards, and no disrespect to any of the UFC fighters, but there's some lulls in some of these events, right? You get a couple prelims, and I'm always there first prelim of the night, but you get a couple prelims, and this night, I want to see every one of these 26 fighters make a walk.
Everyone.
I just can't wait. It's creeping, too.
We are 20 minutes away from the early prelims on UFC Fight Pass. Go sign up. We even got a pretty sweet deal for you. You can get a bunch of money off. $61.99 for the whole year. I don't know what that percentage equates to, but it equates to a good deal, and you should take advantage of it. So go do that. Right now. I'm going to ask you guys the hardest question of the night. You only get one fight. You got to leave the building for the rest of the night, but you can come in and watch one fight. Which fight is it?
I mean, how do you turn down the BMF title fight? How do you turn down
People are saying it's the real main event. No disrespect to the guys that are in the main event, but if that's the only fight you're going to see, I wouldn't hate anybody for picking that one.
But I will say, I think that's the obvious pick, but I will say, you know what? I might go Charles Oliveira, Armin Sarukin. Just as
my God, I forgot about that right now.
Hardcore grappling fan that I am, and seeing Charles Oliveira, another guy that we've watched grow in front of us, right? He had his lulls early in his career, and then he became this superstar later in his career, champion later in his career. Charles Oliveira is loved, and then Armin Sarukin, the guy that came in his debut against Islam Makhachev, and I think that's before a lot of people knew who Islam was. But the hardcore's like, do you see how Armin did against Islam? Like, that guy might be a guy too, and now he's come. So that, to me, I think has the ability to be a phenomenal fight. So I'll go that one. Maybe a little hipster pick there, but I'll take that one.
I like it.
I go Gaethje Holloway.
Yeah.
From one BMF to a couple others?
That's it.
Exactly.
Man, I got to go with Jamal, man. Just his story, his comeback story. I want to see it. And, you know, for him, it's like kind of like the same dream where people are just doubting you. Everybody's counting you out. And then for him to make it to the pinnacle, and to never lost it, gave it away. He's going to get it back.
You know, the fact that we're talking Sarukyan and Oliveira on the back burner, I don't know if anyone said 2 words about Alexander Rakic, Jiří Procházka. That's it for me, just because of the size, just because I see it being fireworks. And I know it's a hypothetical because we're going to be in here for all of them. But I'll go with that one just because there's so many fights all week long like that where you don't even talk about. How much have we talked about Jiří Procházka this week?
Not much. And how about the fact that one got a little flavor at the press conference and the media day, right? Like those 2 guys, we didn't expect a whole lot of them, but likely a #1 contender fight. I know, Nickal might have something to say about that, but that's, right there. And they got a little flavor going back and forth. A fake samurai? Oh, he talks too much. We'll go, oh, you king of Europe? I'm not trying to be king of Europe. I'm trying to be king of the world. How about that? You know what I mean?
And then somebody came out with a video yesterday of Jiří just standing outside in dark, outside T-Mobile Arena. I'm like, bro, if I was walking by and I saw him, like I'm walking my dog and I see a guy just standing out there doing some stuff, I'm just going to walk away.
One fight we haven't talked nearly enough about, and I think it's, in a lot of ways, you can argue the biggest fight on the card. It's your co-main event.
Yes.
Biggest fight in Chinese mixed martial arts history as Zhang Weili defends against her fellow countrywoman in Yan Xiaonan. That's not being hyperbolic when I say it, guys. Like, this is the biggest fight in Chinese MMA history, and it plays, co-main event to the biggest card in UFC history. And man, a lot of people backing Zhang Weili. The line is firmly in her corner for good reason. She's one of the greatest to ever do it at 115 pounds. I wonder if it's prideful for her to share this, opportunity with someone, from her country, or if it's almost bittersweet, because it's, there's pride there.
He tried to hold the Chinese flag up the other day at the media day, and Yan Xiaonan just walked out.
Oh, yeah?
Press conference, when they were doing the face-off, she just walked out. I think she wanted the group photo, and Yan Xiaonan was like, nah.
Good, I like
you can
that.
take the group
Good
photo
move
with me
out of
afterwards.
I'm here to be your friend, yeah.
But Zhang Weili, Daniel Cormier, I think, I'm going to pull up a quote, but Daniel Cormier has talked about her being the best athlete he's ever seen, literally almost on the planet. But this was a quote from Embedded by Zhang Weili this year. Or excuse me, before this fight. She says, and I quote, "I don't force myself to use my power. The more I force myself, the less powerful I feel. That's what I've been pursuing." I mean, mic drop. Good luck, Yan Xiaonan. I just think Zhang Weili is still getting better.
Well, I know Uriah Faber is pulling for Yan Xiaonan. I called A1 Combat a couple weeks ago, and Faber was trying to get the Sacramento crowd behind Yan Xiaonan. He was like, hey, let's do it for our local girl from Sacramento, China.
But, you touched on it being the biggest fight in Chinese history. That's why I think it's cool. TJ, obviously you and I have been covering the sport for a long time, right? And I think there's a lot of American fans who are like, well, I've seen this whole thing rise. I don't think it's getting any bigger. And maybe it's not. Maybe it's leveling off the United States just because you can't go straight up and play forever. But the rest of the world, there's so many markets that are just getting into MMA, and it's, maybe you watch the sport and you like it, but when you really identify with it is when somebody from your region, is doing good, then you're like, that person represents me, that person I can relate to, I'm cheering for that. And so this is a huge moment for the Chinese market that's been developing, and so fights like this are important. I mean, this sport is still getting huge around the globe.
Yeah, and that weight class, 115 pounds, is one of my favorite in mixed martial arts, and the women bring it, and very talented is Zhang Weili, and she takes on Yan Xiaonan in a fight that they could steal the night. They really could. This is a night where you have talent top to bottom, and then the extra bonus, $300,000 on the line, and every single opportunity for everyone. I don't know.
Hey,
fireworks.
Yan Xiaonan's a fun fighter too, so I mean, it would be amazing to see them go out there and do a Zhang Yuana type of fight. I mean, that would be amazing. Which to me is still one of the best fights. Period. That's why I say if you say that's one of the best women's fights of all time, you're doing it a disservice. That's just one of the best fights of all time. Period. So who knows? Maybe they can go out and replicate something like that.
100%. We have less than 1 minute remaining in our BMF fantasy tournament. It is Nate Diaz on the right side of the bracket. On the left side is Justin Gaethje.
Can I write in Don Frye? Is that possible? Are we allowed to do that?
Just give him this belt. You can have the pride belt.
Yeah. Well, I'm a write-in candidate for president of the United States this year.
There you go.
So, if you're not smart enough to vote for Trump, but you're smart enough not to vote for Biden, vote Don Frye. Write me in.
Write him in. Frye.
You got a running mate?
Not yet, but
Mark Coleman.
There you go. Now I want Frye Coleman election shirts. I'd wear that.
There you go.
I'd totally wear that.
Yeah, go 2024. Yeah, Frye Coleman.
All right, can you do a Bruce Buffer impersonation?
No thanks.
No, please, come on.
What? Announcing the winner.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. It's tough.
No, I can't. Well, I'm trying to think of what I would say, but this is the BMF motherfucker, the baddest motherfucker in all the land. We know out of the 209, Nathan Diaz, without question, the winner over Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje may have something to say tonight, though.
Wow.
There it is.
I mean, when you said Nathan, it made me think of like the 8 Mile rap, and he's like, "Bro, you're not a gangster. Your real name's Nathan."
Yeah, right.
Like if you talk to Nick, that's how he introduces Nate to everybody. This is my brother Nathan.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
and like he wasn't Nate until the Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah,
he really wasn't. So
Nathan Diaz. Helwani likes calling him Nathan.
Yeah, I mean I think that's a subtle flex. Like I knew you when you.
At
were
least
Nathan.
you lost to the champion, right? You know,
Right.
you lost to the
That's
champion
true.
in the second round, so
That's
at least
true.
Nate won the whole thing.
Yeah, you won to the eventual champion.
You get your rematch.
Yeah.
They bring you back for the bronze medal match, I believe, is how that works.
Is Mark Coleman going to be doing the honors of wrapping the belt? How cool is that?
Super cool.
That is cool. He deserves it.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, just a Hall of Fame human being inside and outside the octagon. I mean, that honestly, that's worth the pay-per-view price in itself, just to see Coleman have that moment.
Yeah.
You know,
he
and
deserves it. You know, just like losing to Diaz in this. You know, I lost to Coleman, and you know, it's. I hate
so you only lose to the best,
yeah,
huh?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you beat a lot of the greats too.
Yeah, thank you. But you know, Coleman's phenomenal. I mean, what a great person. What a great human being.
Yeah. If you don't know the story, I mean, a lot of the guys that we watch and you know adore in this sport seem larger than life and seem like superheroes. But when you get the opportunity to really go out there and step up and do something that a lot of people fear and intimidation would get, it like fire's hot, guys. Fire will kill you. It almost killed Mark Coleman, and he busted into superhero mode and did things that most people wouldn't do, and almost paid the ultimate price for it. And of course, Don Frye's going to go, wouldn't that just be the greatest storybook ending? And
Absolutely. That's
the craziest.
He cheated himself out of great death.
Samurai, honorable death.
Yeah.
He's got more things to do yet. So,
absolutely.
crown of the BMF title is one of those here. Don't forget, we're just about 12 minutes away from the early prelims over on UFC Fight Pass. Take a look at that promo there. Get signed up.
12 minutes away from which fight?
The first one,
Yes.
Davison Figueiredo and Cody Garbrandt, two champions, two former champions.
Unbelievable.
Which would literally be a main event.
Yeah.
Hey, we talked about it earlier. I'm taking a look behind me. This is better than
Yeah, how's
the
this
normal
place filling up?
crowd 12 minutes out. I mean, it's
come on.
It's not full yet, but there's more people in their seat than there normally are.
Oh,
12
look it up
minutes
there.
out.
There's a lot of people coming up there,
Oh,
up
yeah,
top.
I'm telling you.
But it's like it is still 8 hours of fights, right?
Yes.
It's not
Right.
like going to a
And-
football game.
Right.
So if you're catching a couple at the bar or whatever, but get in here soon.
Well, that's the other thing, too. Like, I understand that Vegas is a late arriving community for fights, but
These are the smart people right here.
it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, though. If this were 7 p.m. on the East Coast, I think you'd have more people
Oh,
here
yeah.
because it's later in the day,
Treat the Vegas crowd like you do the Brazilians. You tell them that it's
Do we
the
need to turn
day-
off
the day
Don's
ahead.
microphone before he finishes this?
you tell them it's the day ahead in order
Oh.
to get them. In order to get them there at the
Right.
right time.
Yeah.
You know?
I used to work with Pearl Gonzalez. We told her to be there 3 hours early all the time.
Yeah. It's still late. Yeah.
Love you, Pearl. She won a fight last night, by the way, so she got a win. All right. What do you guys think about the overall bonuses? Who's going to cash in? If we're making, you were already kind of alluding to the BMF title fight, John, is like you write the names in pencil on the check. I get that. But, gun to your head, who's walking out with the bonuses tonight?
The fans.
That's true. You win the bonus for the show for that comment.
That was
That's
it.
true.
That was a
That's
good
true.
one. But I think I'm gonna go with Justin.
Right.
I think he's gonna get one for sure. I think Jamal's gonna get one main event if he gets a finish. I don't know. I'm gonna throw a little sneaker in, and I'm gonna give it to Kayla.
Boy, I was going to throw that one too. I think Kid, because if she wins, I think it could, it could be very devastating against a very accomplished future Hall of Famer, and it could be ugly.
Nice, yeah.
Possibly.
With respect to Cody Brundage, I just think Bo Nickal's the real deal. I think he finishes in round one, and I think an extra $300,000 comes his way.
Where does he go from here if he gets the win in dominant fashion? Because he wants to fight everybody.
Well, they've taken him on a nice path, just like Ian Gary and some of these other guys were fighting the right guys at the right time, building them up the right way. So,
Would it be a rude awakening for him, John Morgan, if he got, a top 10 guy?
He's got the athletic skills. There's no question about this. The athleticism matches. But yeah, he needs time to season a little bit. You do.
Right.
There are levels to this game.
But we all said that about Ryan Bader and John Jones. Ryan Bader's going to give John Jones a taste of a, humble pie, and that didn't happen.
But I mean, you talk about the very top of the division, man. There's some real talented names. I don't think you have to rush him right away. And it doesn't seem like he really wants to necessarily be rushed either, which I think is
I don't think he's asking for these opportunities. They just fall in his lap.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but even like himself, he took a long break after his last fight. He didn't rush into, let me get another fight real quick. He's like, I want to get better. I want to grow into fighting. And there's a lot of wrestlers that are like hate to strike or like hate to even train strike, and they want to just, I'm just going to keep wrestling. But he's trying to get better everywhere, and he wants to be a complete martial artist.
Well, going back to his appearance on the Fight Pass Invitational, like, he pulled guard against Oliver Taza. Like, he's a blue belt in jiu-jitsu. Like, he rolled with Gordon Ryan. Like, he's not afraid of a challenge, and that's the mindset of not just a wrestler, but like one of the best to ever do it.
Yep.
And I think that's why you see Bo Nickal approach a sport in a way where, he's not going to, necessarily campaign for anything, but he's not going to say no to anything either. And that's why he's on the main card of UFC 300.
I love it. Love that placement.
Yeah, absolutely. How long do you think Kayla Harrison has in her MMA career moving forward? Because it sounded like she was kind of maybe putting the UFC goal on the back burner and maybe accepting where she was like a year ago, and now all systems go and she's landed in the octagon.
Everything changed. I don't think she's here for a long time. I think she's taking that Michael Chandler approach, right? Not here for a long time, here for a good time. Let's take the biggest fights available to us. She wants to prove that she's the greatest in the world. She certainly has the athletic ability to do that, and so I think she's taking the biggest fight. Look, if she wins here impressive, now listen, that's the thing, is Holly Holm is difficult to look good against, right? And if she wins, but she ekes out of the decision, I don't know that people are necessarily going to be saying, put her in a title fight right away. I know Juliana Pena is certainly not going to be saying that, So, I mean, there's some hurdles along the way. But if she can come out here and absolutely, have an explosive performance, a performance of the night type performance, there's going to be a lot of it. And she's so great on the microphone, man. She's going to be calling the shot better than any. So, I mean, I could potentially see her walking into a title shot in her next fight.
And I would just, when you're saying how good she is on the microphone, imagine her and Juliana Pena press conference. Like, in women's MMA, there's not a lot of girls that are going back and forth or talking trash or anything, but both of them,
they would be amazing.
They're good at it. So, and I think that'll be huge for women's MMA in general because it'll get more eyes on it, and that rivalry would be hilarious.
That would be a great fight.
Yeah, it's going to be phenomenal to see her and see what is in store for her. Because I honestly thought that the opportunity was never going to come. She doesn't have to be here. You know what I mean? And I'm not just talking about from a money standpoint. Like, she's won at the highest stage possible in the Olympics in her chosen combat sport.
I don't think you can state that high enough. Two-time gold medalist.
Right. Yeah. It doesn't get bigger than that. Right.
Gold medalist against everyone in the world.
Right.
And it's like you have to show up on that day.
Right.
And you have to perform.
Yeah. You're not the best in your little division in your promotion. It's the whole friggin' universe.
Yeah. Well, when you talk about Olympics, there's some time elapsing between each one. It's like UFC 200 to 300. It's a long time.
You didn't go do the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu World Championships this year and then do it again next year.
Exactly.
You know what I
Four
mean?
years in between and still be at that level.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see how she matches up. Obviously, when you talk about Holly Holm, she dethroned a well-accomplished judoka in Ronda Rousey, but Kayla's a lot different than Ronda Rousey.
Yeah, the comparison's obvious. It's hard not to make it to high-level judokas, but it's two different athletes.
And Holly's different, too. She's not the same fighter that she was,
And by the way, let me just say, another person, Ronda Rousey, the people are too quick to try to write off at this point in time and say that her meaningful spot wasn't there in history. She meant everything to this sport and what she did. And I know, a lot of people soured on the way she left the sport and how the losses went out.
Kayla Harrison's probably not here without Ronda Rousey.
100%. You cannot take away the importance of what she meant to the sport and the women's game. Every woman on the roster knows they owe a bit of debt of gratitude to Ronda Rousey.
Absolutely, and that's the way the sport evolves. You can look back and almost devalue every great accomplishment as the sport evolves because the athletes and the competition is just going to get better, more educated, more well-rounded, and who knows where the UFC even is today without some of those times where Ronda was putting the company on her back and taking it to the highest highs. For this fight and for UFC 300, there are a lot of expectations. It's going to be a night where people, if there's any sort of lull in the action, there could be boo birds here, but I hope that everyone is here to celebrate and just enjoy everything because, again, you're not going to get a card like this. Like, How often do we get to a century mark? It's every 5-6 years, something like that.
8 years.
8 years.
Yeah.
I mean, when was 200? 2016.
Yeah.
Dude, I had more hair on my head then. Not much more, but, you know. So when is UFC 400?
8 years from now, right?
Well, it's great, and I
2032?
think my brother called his first pay-per-view, I want to say, which is UFC 207, right? So you think about that even in context, right? It's I mean, sports. It's just
what a well-established part of the brand he is now, and that was after 200.
Appreciate it. Yeah, it's been a ride.
Just that guy doing MMA live on ESPN.
Exactly.
Crazy stuff. Crazy
So can I put you on the spot?
I mean, sure.
Who do you like in the main event?
It's very hard for me to put my stock in someone that's coming off an injury and a year layoff, so I go Alex Pereira. But if Jamal Hill gets it done, no disrespect to the Brazilian, I'm probably going to jump up in the air for joy because it's just a great story back. So.
Yeah.
John Morgan, who do you like in the main event?
Same thing. I think in a lot of ways, my heart is pulling for Jamal Hill. That story, as I said, the emotion behind it, what he got taken away from, I want to see it. But I always look to question, especially when you think a matchup is that close, then you start looking at the question marks. When somebody's changing weight classes, when somebody's returning from injury, et cetera, et cetera. And so those things, and everybody says it, they're at the right spot. But he's saying in the media day, I knew right away I was ready to go. I know, and Belal, you made some great points about cleared in the PI, but it's still a little bit scary. It's hard. So maybe it's some recency bias and all those things, but I think it's a hell of a fight, and I love it.
Don Frye, Jamal Hill, Alex Pereira.
I go with Alex. Guy that he's got Chuck in his corner, and the other champion,
Jamal.
Glover Teixeira.
Govich,
yeah.
Drew a blank there, man.
Hey, you're good. I'm here for you.
Sorry, man. Sorry. Yeah, I mean, you get too much information and skill and knowledge, in that corner.
Well, Belal, I know Jamal Hill's a friend of yours, but that's not why you're picking him.
No, yeah, I'm looking at styles, and I think that when he hits people, they go to sleep. But also, talking about his injury, we're not doing a lot of cutting or like NFL, running back moves in the cage, right? And I don't think he has to worry about a takedown with Pereira. I think he knows it's going to be a straight stand-up fight. Even when he fought Glover, I know that his hands were a lot lower, and he had to think about multiple things with Glover, right? He's going to take me down. I got to worry about jiu-jitsu. Everybody was doubting him. If he hits the ground, you're going to get taken. Like, it's going to be over with. But I think Jamal, if he gets on top of Alex, his ground and pound is really good.
And Alex Pereira, as you said, great point. Even as a striker, he's not the most mobile striker, right? I mean,
he stands still. Yeah, there's going to be no chasing for either one of these guys. They're both going to be standing still. Jamal don't need a leg for that. He's good with that. He can do it with no Achilles.
It's time for the analysis to end. UFC 300 is just minutes away. Get over to UFC Fight Pass for the early prelims. Thanks for hanging out and putting in the extra rounds. I'm TJ DeSantis, Jason Anik, Belal Muhammad, Don Frye, John Morgan. We're going to go enjoy some fights here in Las Vegas. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you after the fights.